Welcome, everyone. We are joined with the man, the myth, the Moneymaker effect, Chris Moneymaker, newest member of the ACR. Congrats on signing with the major sponsorship again after leaving Star. So, Chris, talk to me. How are you?
I couldn't be better, Jeff. Doing real well. It's good seeing your face again. It's been a long time. We used to be on a team back in the day, and then you decide to move halfway across the world down to Brazil, and I don't ever get to see you. So it's good to see your face, and it's good to catch up.
Yeah, man, it is. It's a lot going on in the poker world and life and everything. Things go very fast and time flies. I was just reminiscing and looking back, and I had to tell you, you were my original. This was like letting it flow. This was back in, I think, exactly 3 years ago in January, and we just had a combo. I just asked you, I think, on the spot, like, hey, like, let's hop on, talk, and we chatted, and sort of this was like started thinking about, well, it'd be cool actually to have a podcast. So you were actually technically you were like the pilot. You were the first ever guest. So we're back. We'll call this part 2. And obviously now that was, we were both sponsored by Poker Stars. This was in January of 2018. You have now left Stars. You were the guy 2003 until then. I mean, that's a long run. And I was there while we were on the same team for, a couple of years. But tell me what's happening. First, let's just dive right into why you left Poker Stars. How was that? Because you're the face of poker. You're the Moneymaker effect. It's just crazy. Like it's wild that you are the guy of the poker boom. Like there's no argument. It's not like, oh, maybe or whatever. You're the guy. You're with Poker Stars. How did that how was that to leave, and it's good terms and what was sort of like, was that crazy for you to go to be like, wow, I'm no longer with Poker Stars?
Yeah, so leaving Poker Stars was definitely a tough decision. They're a great company. Loved working with them. I mean, you worked with them for a while, so talking with Scott and all these guys, they were trying to set up different promotions for me to do, and we had the Moneymaker tour going, and obviously, if the virus had not happened, then I would be with Poker Stars, and I would be out doing what I've been doing for the last 17 years. When the virus happened, obviously we all got sort of shut down. I was able to spend time with my family, and I really enjoyed that time with my family. My contract was coming up, and Poker Stars was really great throughout the whole pandemic. Like they didn't ask me to do anything. They were like, stay home, and they paid me, and they took care of me while I was sitting at home, which was really, really cool. And we were talking about renegotiation. My contract was coming up at the end of the year, and they're talking about me moving to Pennsylvania, or me moving traveling to Pennsylvania or Michigan or New Jersey, where I'm able to play and stream and spend like half the year up there or whatever it might be. And honestly, at the end of the day, looking at my family situation when I had been home for that long, the thought of leaving them for half a year, or uprooting my whole family to move up to the northern plains, if we were to play online, just wasn't quite as appealing as it was prior to the pandemic. Like I think prior to the being locked at home, I either would have spent the time away, or I would have maybe moved the family. But it's hard to move a family when you have 3 kids, they all have friends, and right. It's a big ask for them to move. Now, people move all the time for jobs, and people move all the time for different reasons. But so we could have moved. I mean, it was definitely something on the table we were looking at. And during the negotiation process, we were trying to figure out, am I going to move, or am I going to spend just a ton of time, up in those areas, so I was able to play and be effective? Because at the end of the day, when's COVID going to end? When are we going to be able to go out and actually play poker with people? And I wanted to be visible. I wanted to be out there. I wanted to be able to be streaming and be part of the actual brand. And I wasn't able to do that sitting at home down here in Mississippi. And, as things developed, I realized I did like being at home. I didn't want to ask them to move. And I couldn't imagine spending half a year away from them up in another place. And so that was kind of the whole leaving Poker Stars decision, is what it really came down to. Again, it's nothing that they did. It was, it's been a great relationship for 17 years. Obviously, we've both grown over time, and I had an opportunity present itself, and I took it. And with ACR, I get to stay home. I get to stream. I get to be with my family. I'm still going to be traveling, but it's just not going to be near as much. I mean, we have things like the cage. We're going to be doing some tournaments whenever we can get back out into public. But in the meantime, I can sit here and play online from my home computer, stream, and do the things that an ambassador can do just to be out in the public eye without going and touching people right now, which was a big driving factor in the decision.
For sure. And I see you do it. So tell me about Twitch a little bit then. Is that, I see right here, it says you're offline, Chris Moneymaker Poker. I know you've streamed some. So is that something you will be planning to do more on, is actually streaming on Twitch when you play?
Yep, I'm going to stream on Twitch. I'm actually getting my channel set back up right now. I'm going to start probably pretty slow. I'm going to probably just do the Sunday schedule, maybe a select few tournaments. ACR's got a full tournament schedule coming out with the OS, the MOSS, things of that nature. So, we got a whole thing coming out. So I'm going to be streaming some of that. Sorry, that's your messages.
And let me interrupt. Let me just kind of dive in and understand exactly. I can really relate to what you're going through, because I remember when I was dealing with Poker Stars, being American is tricky, right? Like now we see Michigan just get legalized. I see that on the docket. There's Indiana, Kentucky, I believe, Illinois. I've heard whispers of Illinois, New York. You see now with the pandemic and COVID and all this stuff that it's coming more to light. Biden administration probably more pro for this stuff. Sports gambling legal at a federal level. So it's a pretty exciting time in terms of gaming and poker and in the US, and things seem like they're coming forward. But, I remember same thing with Stars. It was always kind of hard for them to find ways to use me. There weren't really much Americans like, look, hey, I'm going to be in America for a good part of the year. What do you do? What do they use you for? And then what you're saying, like, you're a guy, you're the face of live of the dream, the average Joe, if you will. I know you're not average guy. You're a remarkable person, Chris. You know what I mean? Like you're the kind of guy they want you out and rumbling. And so when you can't, and then it's sort of like a weird thing, right? Because it's like they just, they don't want you to just sit at home. So it makes a lot of sense. And there's not a lot of options in the US either. And I mean, obviously America's Card Room, like I said, I've mentioned this before. Yeah, of course there's some people say this and bots or whatever. Like, look, I know Juan, I know Phil, I know ACR. I've been down there numerous times to the cage. I've seen their offices. I know people that have won the cage. Two of my very good friends have won the Venom, right? Got paid $1 million plus, paid out, like whatever, right? The site is they're doing a lot, and it's the best option for Americans by a country mile to play on in big tournaments, big guarantees. So listen, there's not a lot of, like I said, in our industry, there's only so many teams. There's not 32 like the major sports. There's basically, you got Poker Stars, which is sort of in a way segueing out of poker, right? I mean, like they've gotten rid of some of their faces. You're like, they've parted ways. Negreanu couldn't come to agreement. You didn't come to agreement. I left. Kevin Martin left. Jamie Staples left. A lot of people, Nano Noko. You could just go down the list of people that were there, and now they still have Lex. They still have Finton, Spraggy, a few other guys that are active. Akari. But it's changed, right? Like they're more in gaming, and it's just like one of those things that things evolve. Different times, different things are right for people, right? So it's like, I get it. I totally get it. And for me, it was like, all right, I wanted to always work for Stars. I got the Stars. And then when it was kind of time and I saw the vision of what was happening and just like what I'd be utilized, you gotta, you gotta do what's best for you and what makes sense. And a lot of times people will look at something, think something, but not have all the information, and like you said, you could have done that, but there's a lot of factors and, family and what it means. So, I mean, again, I'm happy for you. I'm sure, you inked a great deal, and you with the, and that's amazing. So I'm glad that, that's big news and very, very exciting. So when will you start streaming exactly?
Working on the stream right now. Like I said, we just got that part, moving in that direction. So I'm looking, my internet is I was supposed to have this brand new fiber internet by Christmas, and it's February and I still don't have it yet. So hopefully that comes in. When that comes in, I'm going to get the stream officially set up, and I'll be releasing stuff on Twitch or on Twitter, announcing when I'm going to start streaming. Again, we got a cool series coming up, so I'll probably stream some of that series, but I'm going to focus on Sundays. I think Sundays is it's still the poker day. And so I'll probably start doing that. But, when talking about why ACR versus, all the other opportunities out there, the one thing I always liked about Poker Stars back in the day was if I needed something, I could pick up Esai and call the phone, and we would have a discussion. And Esai was kind of a poker nerd, and it's the same exact way with ACR. If I need something, or I actually have a voice to where I can reach out into the community, get what the community wants,
right,
and pick up the phone and call Phil, Juan, and say, hey, look, can we try this? Is this something we can do? And they've been overly receptive of being able to, say, yeah, we can do that. Let's, they change the software all the time to fit for players' needs. It's really, for the players. Phil's a poker nerd. So, just talking to me, he gets all giddy still to this day. It probably will never change for him.
Listen, I got to say on that, because I know of Yishai Scheinberg. I never met him. This is way before my time there, but he's like one of those guys, and I don't know if he's actually in the Hall of Fame or he was up for it, because like a lot of people I saw, like, people who knew him, just like, you got to get this guy in. He's the man. He's the greatest guy, nicest guy, like a family guy. And I'll say again, at Stars, I work with Melanie, Scott, some people, and I had a great time, great relationship. I have nothing ill to say about, I enjoyed my time there, but like Rob Young, Phil Nagy, like those, to me, those are people I know that are like at that level. They really love poker. Like they do. Rob Young, he's watching the stuff. Phil's playing, he's so excited for poker. And I've been at the cage and he's playing, he loves it. And Rob loves it. And to me, that's important to have people that care about poker and that really, really genuinely care. Like they really do. And that's like, to your point, that is a nice feeling. And that's not, again, I can't speak on GG, some other ones, but like, I know from what I hear and what I personally know, and just not just like, cause it's not just like you or me, right? Like it's one thing that you're like, no, they're going to treat you, but like, I know all the people that are at the party, all the people with ACR, I know how Phil treats them and how people feel really good and have that access. And yeah, that's you can't really replace that. That's worth a lot. And that's not even like, forget the money or whatever the deal is. Like that is reassuring that, like you're not going to get buried into like, like not have your voice heard and you can get a hold and have access to who can make decisions. So very, very cool, very important. And, again, we're very lucky for that, to be on team to do that. What is I got to talk about your name, man. Moneymaker. It's a great name. And people ask that all the time, and who don't know poker, like it's not really his name, right? He changed it, but your family name was a German background, and you actually did change it, or your family changed it. How long ago was that? Was that the generation before you, or how long before?
It's been many generations before me. Supposedly it was Neumacher, which is German, and they made silver and gold coins.
Okay.
And, I guess you're named after your profession a long time ago. And when they went over to England, that's when the names officially changed to Moneymaker. And my dad told me, we have a family history that's actually moved online now, but there's been so many male generations of Moneymakers born for, a very long time. It's like, we don't have females in our bloodline very often because it's always the males that are born. So actually my daughter was like the first daughter born in the Moneymaker bloodline in a long time. Right. And, it got down to where the bloodline might have died if my last son was a female. Like we wouldn't have a Moneymaker going forward, but then we had my son, and so we'll carry on the name again, and, he'll hopefully continue the trend of Moneymakers.
I love it, man. It's too good. It honestly, some things just seem they were meant to be. They're just scripted. So, you talk about this probably 500 times, and it's probably, I don't know, maybe it doesn't get old. I don't think it would get old. It's like you won. You have the most.
It never gets old.
It's fun, right? It is. I get excited just thinking about it, because for me, like many in my generation, that's what happened. Rounders and Chris Moneymaker. It's either both a combination of some, or 80-20 one way, but that's what got you into poker. Tell me, that for those that somehow don't know, and it's been a while, maybe that they've heard this, but you literally won a satellite. You were, I believe you had a child 3 months before the main event. You won a satellite for $86 to get into, was that one satellite to the 10, or 86 into another that you won? You had to win 2 to get in. Is that right?
Yeah, it was $86, and you had to win that one, and that got you into the 615 buy-in, and then you had to win the 615 buy-in, which they're giving away 3 seats. 4th place in that event actually was $8,000 in cash.
And you tried,
and that was my goal.
You were trying to lose to get that.
I was trying to lose. I didn't want the seat, because way back then, if you won your seat, you couldn't sell it. Like you had to play. It was not a choice to play the event or not. You had to play. And also back then, there wasn't this whole, right. Everybody knows now how to sell action and, what markup is. And,
right.
First of all, I don't think I would ever sell it in markup, especially back then.
Right.
But I would have a seat and that's it. If I busted the main event, then I basically went through all these steps of this tournament and I got nothing to show for it. Right. So, fourth place was my goal. I mean, I had about $8,000 in debt. So that's all I wanted. I was going to be real happy with it, with fourth place.
Right. So did you actually try to punt it off, or like, was it like close, or you were just going all in every hand? And obviously that actually ends up, that's pretty powerful sometimes. That's the most dangerous way to play in a satellite. So what happened? You were just kind of going in, or were you calling off to lose, or were you just shoving a lot?
No, I was actually chip leader, and we were starting to get down. There's like 5 people left, and we were talking about, making a deal. And my buddy was watching from his house, watching me play, and he saw the deal making process going on, saying I want fourth, and someone else wanted fourth. So I was trying to position myself to get fourth, and but it was more in the negotiating standpoint. And he called me up and he's like, dude, what are you doing, man? Just take the seat. I'm like, man, my situation. $8 grand is going to be awesome. I could pay off all my credit cards. And then he makes a valid point. He's like, you'll be back in the same boat in fucking 6 months. And I'm like, yeah, but at least I'll be set for a while. And he's like, listen, I'll give you $3 grand or $5 grand. I'll buy half your action and I'll take half of whatever you win and go out and play the World Series. I'm like, okay, and you get $1,000 too if you won the seat. They gave you $1,000 for travel expenses. Right. So it's like $6 grand. It's $2,000 less, but I also get to go do a bucket list item and play in the World Series main event. After watching Rounders, it was definitely something I was interested in doing. I'd watched Robert Varconi win it the year before, and made Helmuth shave his head. He played so bad and won. So it was definitely, it was like, okay, well, if that guy can do it, maybe I can do it. But the problem is that guy was an MIT, like, super smart guy. And I'm just some dumb hick from Tennessee.
Oh, University of Tennessee accountant, Chris, come on, man. Don't, that act's not going to work here. It's too late. You've already done it. You've won the main. People know
it's not MIT, brother. It's not MIT.
You're right, but it doesn't matter. Hey, look, I'm a
they don't make movies about accountants from Tennessee unless like you're Ben Affleck and you're killing people.
How is there not a poker movie about Moneymaker, man? Like that. I mean, that thing, there's got to have been discussions about this, right? I mean, have you been approached? Like that? It seems like a very good story, and it just almost like a
I've been approached by several producers, several directors, and we came close a couple times. The thing is every time that we start talking about a movie deal, someone wants to buy my rights or buy my life story or whatever, and we can't come to a financial. They wouldn't offer $1 or something for to lock it up for 2 years so they can develop the story. And after hiring attorneys and stuff, they're like, no, your story's worth a lot more than that. You can't lock it up. Don't give away your rights. So I've maintained my rights through all these years, and the right situation will come along eventually, probably when I'm gone. But that's generally how these movies work.
We're in the cutoff. We're close. We might live forever. It's either us or our kids. But don't worry, just hang on tight, and we'll get it something. And if my buddy Ryan's listening, I got a feeling, man, that just feels like too great a story. There's it just feels like it's got to be. So we'll see what happens on that. But so let's replay this. So you win the satellite, you win the 615, you get the seat. What's your feeling when you win it? Were you like, was it like, oh boy, here we go? Like, did you study it all? Did you do any more work, or did you just win the seat, sold some action, and you showed up in Vegas?
Well, you got to realize, poker back then was not what poker is today. I mean, if you win a seat into the Venom, or you win a seat into the World Series, whatever you win, you can jump on and get coaching from basically anywhere. There's so many avenues to learn how to play poker in today's world. Back then, there was no poker training videos. There was no ways to get better. You had to go read Super System, or you had to go read Mike Caro's Book of Tells. I mean, that was like the extent of poker knowledge out there. So it's not like you could just go study. I was excited, but also, at the same time, realized that I'm going up against a bunch of world champions, which back then to me, world champions were these mythical creatures that could see into your soul and tell you your two cards before you even looked at them.
Right.
Back then, I only knew 3 poker names. I knew Phil Hellmuth, Doyle Brunson, and Johnny Chan. I knew the first 2 or the last 2 from Rounders. And Hellmuth, I just knew he had won, a lot of bracelets. So I knew he was sort of the best poker player. Those 3 were the best poker players alive back then. But I knew all the pros were going to be good. And I'm just some random guy that's played with his friends and want to see it online. So I wasn't overly expecting much. I was hoping to get through the first day. I joked with my bosses by the restaurant group I worked at and told them if I win, I'll be back to work Monday morning, but can I have the week off to go play this? They were like, yeah, man, whatever. They didn't know anything about it. They're like, yeah, go have fun.
And it's pretty crazy actually looking at it, how the payouts are, right? So 839 entrants, they only paid 63. That's way less than 10%. I mean, so they were going for that juicy top prize to make it, I guess, lucrative, what's the word? They want to make it juicy. They wanted people to come in and advertise that. But wow, so like really, that's crazy. That's like nowadays this would be paying 120, right? Or roughly like in that range. That's a huge difference. I mean, they're talking about.
Well, again, that's where poker is so different now. If you played a poker tournament, it was hard to cash because they were paying like 8% of the field, and I actually had a discussion about this online with a guy this morning about ACR's payout structure, how he says it's too flat and it needs to be 10% or 12%, not the 20% that it is right now. But I think as an industry, we're all going to that flatter payout structure to keep money balanced within the economy. I mean, I can tell you from experience that it's really brutal to bust 9th and make X amount, but if you would have made 8 more spots after battling through thousands and thousands of people, you 20x your money. I mean, it's just pretty brutal. So pay out a little bit more down the way and spread out the money. It's better for everybody, and more people make the money, more people have money, and I think that's just the way that we're all going in poker. And I think that's one way that we keep poker relevant and keep people playing. But yeah, it was a different time back then.
I agree. I completely agree. I think that it's now you see bounties, knockouts, these other tournament formats people really like. But the thing about knockout, you got to remember too, it's like you're basically recycling a lot of time. You'll get a quarterback, a halfback of the buy-in, and that's pretty powerful. And although like some of the elite or people might say, oh no, but it is kind of it makes it a little more fun and less pressure and more. It does recycle for the operators, but it also keeps, in general, people in more action and have more fun, and it gives you a new variation to play and kind of understand. So, I think that's all good. But let's just go through. So then how many days was this tournament, and what was it like for you? I mean, they talk about the ultimate excitement. You're, country boy, you're from, living in the South, go to Vegas. Had you ever been to Vegas, or first trip ever?
I'd been to Vegas before, but never for poker. I'd played with friends and stuff, and me and my dad had gone out and played blackjack. So I'd been to Vegas before. I'd never been to downtown Vegas, so I'd never been to Binion's, didn't know anything about Binion's. When you walk into Binion's, it's not like a normal, I don't want to say normal casino. It's not like other casinos. You walk into other casinos and the ceilings are 20 feet high, and there's, anybody that's been to Vegas knows that, what to expect. Well, you walk into Binion's, the ceilings feel like they're like 6 feet tall. Like they're like right on top of you. You feel like you're walking into just a normal small building. And, they have, at the time, they took all the slot machines out and put poker tables out, spread out through the building because the tournament was about ready to start. So we had satellites and cash games downstairs. They had a bullpen upstairs. They called it Benny's Bullpen, where they had probably 40 tables filled in this room. And outside that room, how they kept track of everybody is they wrote you up on a whiteboard with a magic marker. Like if you registered in the event, they would write your name up there. That's how they kept track of how many players and things of that nature. And that was unique to the World Series for many years. And that it was a cool thing. It was a cool feature. But but it was definitely not what you would imagine Vegas to be. It was, a couple of years ago, before I played, they had smoke in there. So they said when the people smoked, smoke would come to here. You had to duck down just to get below the smoke because of, smoking wasn't allowed. Thank goodness they banned smoking. So we weren't able to do that. But yeah, the ceilings are super low, and it was just a different feel. So going in there, I was extremely nervous. I didn't know what to expect other than the fact that I was going to be the worst one in the field. I knew that going in. There's no one else that was going to have the limited experience that I had. Everybody else was paying 10 grand. And I'm paying $86.
What percent?
So I get there and they tell me that 2 guys are waiting for me in a hotel room to give me a bag to welcome me to Poker Stars and to play on the team. So went up there, got my bag, said hello, and they're like, "Yeah, good luck, see ya." Don't see them for like 4 days because they don't think I'm going to do anything, which I don't either, to be honest. So basically, start day 1 of the main event, super excited, playing, and one guy wins a hand to my right, and someone said, "Nice hand, champ." I'm like, "Champ? Who the hell is this guy?" And in Binions, they have pictures of all the past champions on the wall. So I looked at the guy, try to get a good look at his face and trying to remember him. So I walked over the wall and looked at the wall to try to find him on the wall. And sure enough, it was Dan Harrington sitting 2 to my right on day 1. And it was funny because someone had said this probably 4 hours into the day. And he was one of the ones I'd already pegged as wasn't going to be that much of a troublemaker. Like he wasn't going to be hard to play because he was so tight. He just didn't really play any hands. So he was never picking on me, even though he was on the button when it was my big blind. He was never picking on me. There was this guy that was also wearing the Poker Stars patch by the name of Jim Worth. He was constantly raising my big blind, constantly picking on me, and it really irritated me. So he was the one that was giving me a lot of headache. And there was another guy that was actually wearing a Paradise shirt, I believe, which anybody that know, that was like the biggest site back in the day. And I started talking to him on a break, and I asked him how he got in. He won a lottery. He was a 50-cent $1 limit player, and he won like a drawing. So I'm like, all right, you're my Huckleberry. You're the guy I'm going to pick on to begin with. So I started picking on this guy. It helped my confidence. And, basically it was just, we started with 10,000 in chips back then. So you got dollar for dollar chips. It's not like today where you start with 50K, but 10,000 chips seemed like forever, like a ton of chips.
Right.
So I just tried to make it through the day. That was my whole goal, was making it through the day.
Right. And did you ever give me a little bit of an understanding on your day then? Did you ever drop below 10? Were you down to 2, or did you kind of have a smooth day? You stayed steady and just kind of, what did you bag? Do you remember your bags roughly? Did you double day 1?
My first day I bagged 60K from the 10K stack.
Oh, wow.
And I do remember every single, we played for 2 hours and you get a 15-minute break in the main event. So every single 2-hour window, with the exception of 1 on day 2, I increased my stack. I was always moving up. I was always trending in the right direction. I had a dream ride. It was really the easiest poker tournament ever because things just ran really good for me. When I flopped sets, someone else had the overpair. When I had the overpair, they bricked and tried to bluff. The only hand that really hurt myself was I had ace 10 on a 10 high board and got in a lot of money against kings. And that hand hurt a lot. And that was on day 2. That was significant. I walked outside and, was really depressed. I thought, this was going to sort of come to the end and that was going to be it. So it was pretty short and I was frustrated. But I walked back in, and the very next hand I get dealt aces and almost double up right away. And after that, I win another hand, and I'm back up to where I was. And all of a sudden, life's good again. And, I was so mentally fragile back then that if I ran bad, I think I might have blown up and done some crazy stuff. But I just ran good. And, got in good spots, made right moves at the right times. I bluffed, I remember bluffing Scotty Wynn. I bluffed, I can't remember. There's a couple other huge bluffs going into day 3 and day 4. Obviously, the one you're showing on screen here, busting Johnny Chan, was hugely significant. It gave me, because again, he was one of the few players I did know in poker, and the fact being able to bust him gave me all the confidence in the world to think that I could actually play with some of these guys and do okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty crazy, right? You're there, you got those glasses, those famous glasses, and the look, and you're in there, and you got Phil Hellmuth, Johnny Chan around, and the big names and who you know. I mean, it must have just been surreal. I mean, this has got to be just out of a storybook, man. It really is. It's when you see this footage and being on ESPN, like, what was the experience? Were people texting you during? Was it live? Was it on a day delay, or did it just taped later? Were people, as you got deeper, were you getting were people blowing up your phone? And was it because it's different nowadays, right, with social media and how in touch everyone is on everything on every second? Was it like that, or were you kind of in your own personal space and then you made the final table and some people knew?
Well, there was no social media. We actually had by this time, this aired 6 months after it actually played out. So we played in like March, May, and it didn't show until August. So by August, we had a home game that we were regularly playing. We scheduled it for the nights that this would come on TV. It came on like Tuesday nights. So, we had 30 people in a home game playing cash games on different tables, ready to watch this. But again, there's no social media. I don't remember text. I think we just had the old flip phones that you couldn't even really text. It wasn't like a thing where, you're texting a lot of people. It's just, you can see Johnny's little flip phone on his side of his pants right there. Right. So you made phone calls. I mean, it was a weird time. You actually had to leave messages and make phone calls. It wasn't, I'm going to text and see, what everybody's up to. So it was a little bit different time, but I do remember sitting there and just turning to my friend as it first came on TV and just looked at him and said, "Am I that fat?" He goes, "Yeah, you are." I'm like, all right, great. That was my first reaction.
This was in March. This wasn't in the World Series. Wasn't in the summer.
The World Series was not in the summer during that time. Nope. Everything, like I said, everything about what everybody knows about the World Series of poker was different back then. I mean, nothing about the World Series is the same. Different location, different time, different chips.
The chips look different. Sweet. I never played with those. And I love the dollar for dollar. That feels so powerful too, right? Because you're just like, in your head, you're like, because nowadays you get 30, 40, 50K and boom, lightning. That's when that's a big pot, little 8-ball Umberto, the shark going out there. It's stars on stars, future crime. With Umberto going out. But yeah, man, it's crazy. It's crazy because like that feels kind of more intense, right? Like when you have 5X starting, you get chips and you don't really think about it. But when it's dollar for dollar and you got $1 million in front of you or 800,000 chips, it's kind of like, whoa, like that's real. That's pretty wild. Those chips look so cool too, man. I hope you have some of those. Speaking of like sports cards and memorabilia, that would be kind of cool to have some of those chips now and then sign Moneymaker chips. Just have some of those from the old World Series. But yeah, man. So when did you think you could win? When did it hit you that like, all right, I'm gonna like, because was the bubble intense? Did you have a lot of chips on the bubble, or were you kind of like just trying like, because as someone who satellite in, that bubble's huge, right? You got to lock up the real money. You don't want a bubble. Were you healthy, or were you in a little bit of trouble then?
No, like I said, I had a pretty dream ride. So every two levels I was going up. So by the time the bubble got there, I was one of the chip leaders, and I didn't know that this was a thing, but I thought I was the coolest guy in the world because, I think you got paid like 17,000 or so. No, it was more than that. It was like 20 some odd thousand for cashing. I mean, you pulled it up there earlier. They were paying that much, but I thought I was a cool cat because I knew how to abuse the bubble before abusing the bubble was cool. I was raising people with garbage hands and making plays and putting pressure on them because I had all the chips. Right. So I just thought I was, this pretty cool customer because I knew that they didn't want to bust and they couldn't bust me. So I was like, I'll just keep raising. And it worked. And I was just accumulating chips left and right, outplaying people. What I thought was outplaying people when it was technically just doing what you're supposed to do on the bubble. So, I will say I instinctively played like you're kind of supposed to play, but not on purpose. It was just, I thought I was being a good poker player, and I was super sharp.
I love it. And so
I was doing just the standard thing that everybody does today.
And once the money burst, you know, you got one of the top stacks. So what are you thinking at this point? Do you have goals? Are you like, let's make the final table? Or are you like, I'm just gonna keep, like, what was your mindset once the money hit?
Every day, just get through the day, survive the day, move tomorrow. That was the mantra every single day. It wasn't, get to the final table. It wasn't try to win. It was just get through the day. I mean, as long as I made it through the day and got to play tomorrow, I was happy. And, once we got down to, this is, obviously the Ivy hand, this is like 4 in the morning.
This is one of the hand. This was at 4 in the morning.
This is 4 in the morning.
This hand I remember from, this is like the most memorable hand, I think, from, he's wearing that Francis jersey, the Ivy, he was everyone's kind of whatever, like superstar, like young upcoming, everyone kind of, it was just,
I had no idea who he was. Zero idea.
Yeah. I can't remember if people knew of him or if it was, if like this was what made him kind of around.
Dan Goldman, who worked for Poker Stars at the time, he would give me a rundown every morning of who to watch for. And I remember he was one that he told me to be careful of.
Yeah. I mean, just this is an absolutely outlandish hand. I mean, this is how big, how much percent of your chips was this? Cause, this is,
I bet 75,000 on the flop. Ivy had started the hand with $500,000 and I had 1.5 million. So if he busts me, we both have $1 million. He called the 75, and what people don't understand on the turn, I bet 200,000. I bet half his stack. So when he moved all in, I only had 200,000 more to call. And if he wins, he's got $1 million, and I've got $1 million. And I already told myself once we get down to this point, I am not busting on the bubble. So it was like a 0% chance I was going to bust here or bust, before the final table. I was going to make the final table. I would have walked away and not played another hand if I had to.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can't blame you here. I mean, look, you got essentially the nuts, like 6s or 9s, like no other hand is even possible. And even then, like he could have king, queen, obviously, right? Like or queen, jack. There's a lot of there. It's just like when he raises, it sucks, but like there's just no way you're laying it down. Not, and especially
I wouldn't lay this hand down today, much less back then. Right. I mean,
yeah, this hand is just a 6 cooler. I mean, it's crazy, crazy to think though. Ivy, this was a big pot for him. I'm surprised too. He went all in, right? He did go all in, right? Like on the top.
Yeah, he went all in, and I don't know why you'd be surprised. I mean, he knows he has the best hand at this point.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Like he's not really scared of anything. And I just don't know if
I wasn't scared of anything either. I mean,
right.
If he has pocket 6s, the only thing I really thought he might have. Obviously, I wasn't very happy when I saw his cards.
Yeah, this is pretty wild hand, man. This is the hand I remember, and I think there's Amir Vahidi there too, right? That's the famous. He said, "In order to live, you must be willing to die." That's like his thing, and he was I think he did pass away later, or maybe 5 or so years ago. But yeah, I remember these are some characters. I mean, this was such a. I mean, that is just lightning in a bottle. You can't really. That had to feel almost as good as winning the whole thing, right? I mean, that's just. What a card, man. What a spot. That took you guys to the final table?
That took us to the final table. Again, it was 4 in the morning. We've been playing 10-handed for literally about 4 hours. I was tired. Everybody else was tired. I think they were as excited as I was, even though maybe they didn't show it because of how late it was. I just wanted to go to bed. I mean, it was brutal. And, I get snubbed on the handshake right here. He was in a weird like zone. He later came back. We talked it out and we're good, but definitely a life-changing card.
Yeah, they cut away from it, but yeah, it's interesting that he didn't give the handshake. That surprised me, but I guess like it's a pretty. There's nothing more emotional in the World Series in the moment, but I guess kind of you're obviously the amateur. I think in hindsight, Phil would say that was not his best, but yeah, that's good that. You guys talked about
you can't hate him for it. I mean, it was probably one of the worst beats he've ever taken in his life, but it was also the best beat he ever took in his life.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly. Now tell me about this hand. What's going on here? I mean, this seems just like kind of great poker instinct. You got like a blocker to the straight, you got the king high spade, and you're involved, and you just went for it. Is this what happened here?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're heads up. I know that Sammy wants to use his experience to try to grind me down and run me over, but he doesn't want to play really big pots. So, and again, if this hand was played today, there's almost no chance he folds. first of all, people are just a lot more educated and kind of know ranges and things of that nature. But back then, everybody was just putting everybody on one single hand. And I actually put them on the ace of spades with like a middle pair type, like ace six or ace deuce, ace eight, something like that. And I really thought I could get him to lay it down. I was almost confident he didn't have a flush. So actually, I wasn't going to shove if a spade king. So I was worried my king of spades might not be good. But I was obviously hoping for a straight, hoping for a king. And if I missed, I already made my decision. I was going to go all in.
What a just tell him I'm all in, man. That's so like you're just in the zone. Like this is so sick. One of the great. And I mean, what was the significance if this was for him to win, right? If he called, it was over.
No. If he called, I had about 2-1 chip lead, so we're about even in chips if he calls. Maybe he has a little bit more than that. We actually replayed this. We had a heads up match that we started the same chip stacks we started back in the day. So I had like a 2-1 chip lead.
Oh, you reenacted this? You guys played it out?
Yeah, we played this out a couple years later, 3 different times, where I had the same chips, then he got my chips, and then we had even chips to start with.
And how did that go?
I ended up winning 2-1. I won the one I had my chips. He won the one he had the chips, and I won the one that we had even chips.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's
but in this hand right here, I mean, again, I think in today's game he's never folding. He blames himself for being tired, but back then this was, I hadn't really bluffed that much. I mean, that I'd shown, and he'd never seen me bluff. And for this stage, I mean, honestly, just looking back, I can't believe that I bluffed at this point.
Yeah, man, you just followed through. It's easier said than done, but in the moment, you got it through. I mean, that was you could taste victory probably. You knew you got that one through. Like it's a huge swing. You're leaning on maybe a 3-1 lead or whatever to over. That's big. You got the money on the table, the main event champion. Did you realize at that time had you had what's the word? Did you realize what was at stake in terms of sponsorships, or had they talked to you really? Or was there extra money for the final table or anything, or nothing? And then they talked.
No, there was absolutely nothing. I mean, it was no, I had no idea. I didn't know till 6 months later what was in store. I mean, honestly, I thought that I was going to win the tournament and go back to work, which I did for 8 months.
So you did go, you win this tournament, you go back to your regular job. How was that coming back, man? They must have thrown a party and it must have been like kind of surreal, right? Because I mean, it wasn't aired yet. They didn't see it actually. They go out, hear a newspaper article, the word gets around, you talk to a buddy in the office and everyone knows.
So they were updating it on the new thing, this new thing called the internet. It was really new back then, but it wasn't as pretty as what now. It was being reported via some news agency, and so they were following along back home, and we got done on a Friday night, boarded a plane Saturday and got home, and we had a party Saturday, had the day off kind of Sunday, and then back at work Monday morning. And showing up for work Monday morning was, just like a normal every other day thing. I mean, it was something I expected to do. I just didn't expect to do it for 8 months.
And what was your thought here? Because like I don't know the exact stacks. If he had doubled up here, was it a ball game again, or was he pretty short at this point? I forget. I don't know.
No, this is actually they did a lot of editing back then. This is the very next hand after the bluff.
Oh really? I forgot that. It was like that. Wow.
It was the very next hand, and I honestly didn't ever think that I was going to lose because at this point in my poker career, I'd never taken a bad beat. So.
Right. Yeah, you just know I got 2 pair. He's drawing. Like it's so scary though. Now we've seen it all. The 8 comes. The counterfeits happen. Like this is it's math, right? It's just math, and it does happen. So and what it's funny too looking at it, like the editing and just back then, like it doesn't show chip stacks, right? It's so wild. Like you just don't even know what's going on. Like if you double, is it all like does he have 5 blinds? Does he have 100? Is it like it's just crazy that you don't know. Exactly. But so what do you remember? What was roughly how much would he have had? What would have been if he had doubled? What would have been the stack sizes?
I think I still would have had about a 2-1 chip lead.
Okay, so it would have been, you would have been sweating them. It would have been still pretty anyone's game. So
There would have been a lot of work to be done. Yes, I did not want. Obviously, I'm pacing. I don't think I'm going to lose. But obviously, seeing that final card and getting it through, yeah, it was
yeah.
If anybody could ever experience a moment like that, it's something else.
Pretty incredible. So okay, so you win that, you get the money, and so your friend had half, or you had some pieces sold, or what, or you had half for yourself, or you?
So my friend that was wanting half, he ended up blowing the money in Tunica the week before, so he didn't have it. So I ended up selling 20%.
No.
Yeah. Oh. He blew his money in the casino and didn't have the $5,000 to put up.
Wow, that's a sick beat.
It was a very sick beat. So I sold 20% to my dad. He gave me $2,000, and then I sold 20% to a good friend for another 20 minutes. So I had 40% outstanding to people, and the rest was mine. And it was, I was actually looking to sell more action, but no one wanted to buy. Wow. I mean, I was looking to, sell maximum value. Thank goodness, no one wants to buy an amateur in a poker tournament. No one understood what that meant.
Wow. So yeah, there's no Stake Kings or You Stake back then. This was just this was it. You had your telephone and a couple buddies and whatever. So what did your buddies say? I mean, I don't want to. I'd say it actually makes me ill to think about that, but because that's one of those spots. Like, we've all been there, right? We're all happy. Like, people wish well. If it's a good buddy of yours, obviously one of your closest friends who you're talking with and was willing to do that or whatever. Like, that's something that's kind of hard to recover from. I mean, it's $1 million for like a 5K investment, right? I mean, that's kind of tough, man. That's a tough.
Yeah, we were fraternity brothers. We were always real close. He was actually out there. He was one of the ones out there with me in Vegas. There was one guy that invested. He was out there, and then the guy that was supposed to invest was out there. Obviously, he had to go see me win all this money, and he didn't get anything, and it was terrible for him. I mean, as far as financially, but it worked out. And like, he was here this weekend hanging out. We still talk daily, and he actually is in real estate now and doing probably better than me. So things work out for a reason. When Nashville flooded 15 years ago, whatever, you could buy properties in the poor district for like $10,000. So we went out and bought all these properties, and they had decided that right after he bought all these properties, they were going to develop that rundown district into the new hot area. So he just ran really good in real estate. And so, yeah, he ended up doing that. And I don't know if he would have ever done that if he would have had half my money from the main event.
That's a good way to look at it. I think in life and variance, it's like so easy in poker to look at hands or situations. And it's funny, right? You win a satellite, or you win the big game on Party, or the Venom, or do you win the $22 nightly or whatever, right? So it's similar with wagers and investments and betting. You make that a certain amount, Kelly criterion of your net worth, or put a little in Bitcoin or crypto, right? And then you just don't know, right? Something could be the one or not, and it doesn't necessarily correlate to like other opportunities or sliding doors or the butterfly effect. So yeah, you can't really look at life like that. But when you're that close, like when you commit to something, it's like if you bet this and you take it back or you lose a ticket, it just it does feel, it's mentally, you got to be able to overcome that, because that can definitely weigh on you. But then like you said, it could actually motivate him. Maybe that like got him to be like, you know what? Wow, I had that. I need to figure something out. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get it. I'm going to find it anyway. So yeah, maybe it all worked out for the best. So crazy stuff. You go home, and I do, not to get too into personal life or whatnot. I saw, I remember an article saying, so you were having a baby, right? You had a baby 3 months later. You're married, and now all of a sudden, like, you have a child. You're the main event champion. You mentioned you don't even know, like 6 months later before. So like with Poker Stars, we're like, wow, congrats. They probably didn't realize, right? Like what happened was you won, and then the company, all of a sudden, they see this major boom, and they're like, holy shit, Moneymaker's a guy. They contact you, start negotiating. How was that negotiation? Did you have to get an agent? Did you do it on your own? And looking back, could you have gotten a better deal at the time? Because they're like, oh, like they know how valuable you probably are. but they, you're also like, what the hell? I'm going to get paid to be a professional poker player, or like, whatever deal. So how did that negotiation go? And were you fit for that? Do you think you were prepared in a way to handle that, or looking back, would you have liked to have done something differently?
Oh, I wish I would have done that extremely differently, because I didn't know what to ask for. I mean, I asked for a piece of the company and some growth potential, and I wish I would have stuck to my guns, because I think I could have gotten it. But at the end of the day, ended up the first deal, they didn't know what to pay me, but they're like, listen, we'll give you like $5,000 a month, just to wear a patch, say some things. There was no social media, there's no Twitter. So it's just do interviews and stuff like that. So, and to be honest, like for the first year, I just didn't do anything. I went back to work for 8 months. I didn't play another poker tournament until February the next year. So they're giving me $5,000 to do nothing, like literally nothing. I would play online, but that would be about it. And even then it wasn't, there was no requirements. They were just giving me money to do nothing. So I thought, well, it's not a bad deal.
Right. Well, to be fair,
again, there's no
standard
benchmark
right?
to set against. Like
there is no standard, and like in your mind too, you don't really know the numbers that are possible or what it's worth, or like who knows. Even now with streamers and stuff, I get this all the time where companies or people or friends like, hey, how much? Like I've heard some people guess. Like people don't really know, and it's what the value is. And at the time where it's like there's no standard, right? No one's sponsored. You're like the original guy. So what are you supposed to do? What do you know? You don't know. And like, oh, it's free money. And it's like this, I just won 2.5. I'm still working my job and I'm going to get some additional money. Like, I don't know. Right. Like who are you talking to? No, there's no one to really talk to ask. So you did it on your own then, or
I did it on my own and signed the deal. And then the year later I got an agent actually. And he was like, yeah, this deal's garbage. We need to change this deal. It was a 2-year deal. And he was like, yeah, we need to talk to him at the end of the 2 years and renegotiate. But this is why, Esai was who Esai was, is a year into the deal, Esai called me up and it's like, hey, we're tearing your contract up. We're not going to honor that contract we signed with you. We're going to renegotiate and pay you a lot more money. And because we see now that poker's booming and you've done a lot for us, so we're going to take care of you. And obviously, that was a great phone call, and I didn't have to go ask for more money. They actually came to me and just said, we're just going to pay you more. That's where I should have gotten the stock. That's where I should have gotten the ownership, but I didn't. I just got a
That's the whole mouse a cookie, give an inch, take a mile. Like, oh, well, by the way, yeah, this is what I would like. And then, maybe whatever. Listen, it's worked out. You got a great deal. You've been with them for so long, and now you're on to the current, next thing that makes the most sense. And your buddy, do you want to say hi to your friend? Are you in touch with these guys? Like, what's your buddy's name? You don't have to give his full name. What was his name? The guy who should have had a piece, but now he's doing well. Is he
Bruce Peary? He's my buddy. He's actually he actually cashed 5 times in a row in the main event. He got 30th one year. He was making a deep run.
Oh, wow.
He plays, but he only plays the big events. He actually just cashed in the Venom. He came up, hung out at the house with me to play the Venom, and he just cashed in the Venom this past weekend. So, and I did as well, which part of the whole ACR phenomenon came about during this quarantine period, trying to figure out a way to play, and ACR was the only option that I had to play, and I was having success there and ended up final tabling the Venom midway through the year. And
wait, you final tabled the Venom earlier?
Yeah, I final tabled the Venom earlier this year, or last year, in the middle of the pandemic. So I hit for like 400,000, which was nice. And during the phone call, this is what sort of pushed my inspiration to go with ACR, because I've got all this money on a unregulated site, and I just don't know what to expect. And basically, everybody on the final table got white glove treatment for getting the money off. It was super easy. They withdrew the money the next day, and it was in my Bitcoin account. I didn't know a whole lot about how that was going to work. I'd never transferred that much money in Bitcoin. I had some Bitcoin, but it was stuff I'd bought on Coinbase and just sort of sits there. I didn't know about how that's going to work. So I'm sitting there like, hey Phil, can you just send me like $2 and just see if it comes through first? And he's like, yeah, sure. So he sent me a little bit and then sent me the rest. And He did that with Marty, who ended up getting second. And, basically everybody else at the final table got paid really quickly. And I was like, well, that's really cool. You have all this money, you can just get it out and move it real quick. And, that sort of started my relationship talking with Phil as, Phil found out obviously that I made the final table. And he was like, hey, can we publicize this or not? And I was like, no, I'm a Stars pro and, don't need to be out there, playing on other sites, even though, we're in a pandemic. It's a terrible time. But yeah, we can't make it public. He's like, my lips are sealed. No one will ever know. And he stuck to that. It was really cool. He was a man of his word, and he didn't let anybody know. The cat never came out of the bag. And
I didn't know that. I didn't know that to this day. That's actually fascinating, and congrats, man. That's a massive score online. I've had some that, it's funny. My biggest score was on ACR. It was a 25-hour Twitch stream that was a $500 $1 million guarantee. And that's what kind of got me to feel confident, because I got, I think I chopped it 3-way for 141 grand, and I got paid, fully in BTC at the time. And I really had this was 2016, I think December of 2016. And, I didn't really understand. Yeah, exact same thing. I was kind of like, whoa, like I've gotten a little bit sent in from another, like an affiliate deal on a site, but I didn't really get it or know it. I wasn't sure I was really comfortable, but that also made me feel good. I was pretty new into streaming, and, I didn't have a relationship with them, but I got handled and no problem. So I also had confidence. I also realized the future of gaming and payments was crypto. And when I saw kind of ACR move that way, I thought that was cool. And the fact that on, Party Poker, I don't know if people really know, but Luxon, maybe you've heard of Luxon or not, but it's more like this is a way, payments are becoming a problem online. Like there's rules and regulations in the UK. You have to show like what your net worth is. Like there's like $500 deposit limits for most people now. Regulation sites, countries are getting shut. Like money on and offline is very problematic. In the KYC, KYT, know your customer, know your transaction. These are things that are happening. And actually, again, I don't want to listen. I'm team Party. I'm Party Poker. That's my squad. I can say that I do know Phil. I know Juan. I do believe in them, and I have full faith in what they've done. I've been to their offices, organization, and like I said, I'm happy for you. I think it's pretty clear the major sites are, Poker Stars, Party Poker, GG, ACR. You could throw 888 in there and maybe, a few others. But in terms of reputation and integrity and all that, like those are the ones that I feel comfortable that I keep money on, that I'm not, worried about. And either I have a personal relationship or know people that do. And I can stamp that. And again, I think it's good. Like what I like about Phil and Rob as well is like they're about poker. Look, and again, I'm not saying Stars or whatever. I'm just saying Rob specifically, Phil specifically. I love that the streamers and team, hey, you guys can play. Oh, the Venom, there's an $8 million guarantee. Okay. Oh, like GG's got this World Series. Go ahead, play, stream. You represent Party, or you represent this site, but put on the best show. And that's something Phil's always said to me too. It's like, he's like, listen, I don't mind. It's a community. We're an industry. We need to build and help everybody, because it's good. There needs to be like a union. There needs to be alignment. There needs to be communication between the leaders. And that's something that, again, I know Rob and Phil they've spoken like, and it's like, it's not a separation. Whereas it's not as if you're scared or you can't do something or can't play on multiple sites, it handcuffs you as a player too. Like, listen, ACR or Party Poker, they don't have the best tournament for every single buy-in or every single time slot. And as a player, you want to be able to play. You want to be able to do what's best for you as well, and then also help the site. So again, I can't say enough positive things about my experiences with that. And again, happy for you, and I'm happy that again during the pandemic, right? When you're a USA, you're at home. What are you going to do? You can't play. You can't play on Stars. You can't play in Party or something where you're at. It's good to have some options for big pools and that you're in good hands. So again, we could talk about it, keep talking about it, but again, it's cool, man. It's great to see that, and I'm happy that you're sorted out and in good hands. All right, so let's dive down. So I was kind of touching on, again, I don't want to get into personal business. You're happy to move along, but so just to be clear, you had a baby, right? 3 months after you're married. And I saw you make the statement, something like, like your wife signed, like you got married at that time, and your wife signed up to be at home, a family kind of thing. And now all of a sudden you're like global, you know, you found poker, you love it, you're traveling and whatnot. And again, we can spend very little on this now, but like it seems like this was, you know, it's like you made a quote saying this is not what she signed up for, right? And like this wasn't, it's so kind of like a whirlwind trigger. And what was that like for you to kind of during that time, if you don't mind, and happy to not talk about it either if you want to, but like,
Yeah, no, that was fine. It was the toughest time of my life, probably. You know, at the time, I was a stay-at-home accountant. I quit my job as a traveling accountant to be at home, and that's what she had wanted. And then all of a sudden, poker came along, and they were offering me a lot of money to go travel and play in poker tournaments and be away. And that was not something that she wanted. She wanted me to turn that down and be accountant and do the 9 to 5. And I did that for a long time. But at the end of the day, you know, I guess the allure or whatever it is, like it was like a calling that I was just meant to go out and play poker and be in this world. And she wasn't going to support it. It's fine. It, you know, worked out for the best for everybody. Again, it was a tough time. I ended up giving her all the money, so I was officially like broke again after the World Series, which was never fun. But I, you know, was able to maintain my business deals and my sponsorships and things of that nature, keep them whole to myself, and just give her the money. It's kind of the deal we had worked out. But yeah, it was a tough time. I mean, you know, you're just starting out in life, and you know, you hit this major road bump where, you know, there's a cross section. Like we probably shouldn't have been married to begin with. We'd broken up and gotten back together so many times that it just wasn't meant to be. We were never the you know, this team, this fit that, you know, was going to work out. And eventually we would have gotten divorced. There was like almost no question to it. This was just sort of the thing that made it happen, I guess, if you will.
right.
So that really sucked. And I was going to be out on the road being a poker player, you know, on my lonesome. And that was kind of, you know, the plan for a long time. And then I met my current wife by random mistake a couple months later. And, you know, my buddy that had bought the 5% or the 50% and backed out, he actually won a tournament down in Tunica. And the prize money girl giving out the money, he tried to hit off with her, try to invite her back to Vegas. And she said she wouldn't come to Vegas unless she could bring a friend. And my current wife ended up being the friend. And we met, and, you know, I won't say love at first sight, but it's kind of what it was. And, you know, we ended up, I was planning on playing a full World Series that year, 2004. And I had, you know, plans to play every event. And I met her, and I dropped plans after playing 5 events and just hung out with her the entire time. Went back to Memphis to sort of hang out with her and just be around her. Truly an awesome person, and just felt blessed to be around her in her presence. And shortly thereafter, we got married, and never was in the plans, never was in the cards, you know, that wasn't the plan. But now 15 years later, 3 kids later, 17 years later, sorry, God, time flies. Couldn't be happier. I mean, you know, not, you know, winning the main event was awesome, but God, I hope she never watches this. Marrying her, because she has a big head now, if she hears this, marrying her was probably the best thing that ever happened to me. It was better than winning the main event was being married to her. Well, and if she ever hears this, I take this back, and this does not make it to any kind of recording. But yeah, no, she's awesome.
This may be a clip, and that's awesome, and man, happy for you again. That's great. And I gotta talk about luck. It seems like you're pretty lucky. I would say that's fair. You won the main event. You find true love. You get married. You got 3 kids there, and then let's just talk about this though, man, because I feel like 97% of the guests, we've had over 100, so I could say that, like over out of, let's just take 100 guests that are poker. Pretty much everyone final table their first hand to mouth, like their first recorded cash. But more impressive than what just your first ever is winning the main event, which that's pretty insane. I doubt that's ever happened before. But let's just go here. What the you just followed up like your next cash tournament, your heads up so you almost just went chalk, like World Poker Tour, your heads up. That's a real one too, right? This was the Bay 101 for 5K.
Yep.
This is the main event. And so you just go, oh, Scott Wilson, man, there's Paradise Poker, man. You probably know Scott. You know him? Do you remember Scott?
I remember Scott. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, good dude, man. I like Scott a lot. So he's in the mix, and you go heads up. So what was this like? Was it like, were you laughing? It's Phil Gordon. Was a full tilt, one of the faces of full tilt, and experienced guy. But what was this experience like, and how random is that? Just go first, and now you're about to win a WPT. Were you confident at this point? Were you delusional about your game? Do you think, did you just kind of know at this point, like, hey, I'm an amateur that won a main event? And like, what was your feeling about your ability of your game at this moment? And then when you get heads up again, you got to kind of just think like you're just natural. Do you think you're the greatest of all time at this point, or did you think you were the greatest of all time when you won the main event, or were you kind of like, I got pretty lucky, or what was your overall feeling during this period?
Well, it's kind of hard. I definitely felt like I got lucky. I felt like I knew how to play poker. Obviously, I just won the main event, but there's nothing to compare it to. I was playing against a bunch of friends and a bunch of acquaintances around town in cash games, and none of them were very good. So I was winning, a lot. But again, I'm not playing against anybody that was really strong. And there was no poker tournaments. It wasn't like, today where you can go find, well, maybe not today because of the fact the virus, but you couldn't find poker tournaments. Poker tournaments just didn't happen.
Right.
That was actually the next tournament I played. It was 8 months later. And that's when I ended up quitting my job, was after that poker tournament. After I got second in that poker tournament, when I made the decision I can do this full time. And I remember that tournament was a lot different than my main event when I coasted. That tournament, when we were down to 15 people, I was in last place. I was the shortest stack all the way from 15th to like 8th place. I mean, I never had chips. I was always, having 4 or 5 big blinds. I couldn't ever get anything going. There's Daniel Negron, who was in the field but down there.
Mm-hmm.
Prelod Freeman, if people, remember that name. Anyways, but I was always, really short. But I remember Matt Savage, it was his tournament. He would always come over to me like, dude, you got to make this final table. You got to make this final table. Because, this was when really the main event was still just so hot, and they were looking forward to using my name and the publicity of me making the final table. And so, I grinded that short stack like I've never grinded a short stack ever again, and ended up making the final table, made some moves on the final table. And this was, I'll never forget, we got down 3-handed, Phil Gordon, myself, and I can't pronounce the guy who got third, but he was real short. And the guy was real short, moved all in. And Gordon called. Gordon had me covered by just a little bit, like, not much at all. And I woke up on the big blind with 2 jacks. And so I had to turn to Matt and ask him, this is how completely new I still was, as if we both bust at the same time, me and the shorter stack, do I get second? Like, I wasn't sure if I got second or third. So he's like, yeah, you have more chips, you would get second place. It seemed like a pretty obvious answer, but still didn't know. So at that point, I moved all in with pocket jacks.
It's fair because like it could just be you split it or something, right? I mean, you're not sure. It's not like you've got a lot of, so okay. Fair.
This is my second live tournament. I didn't know how this was going to work. I mean,
first in or second, yeah, exactly. You want to know. It's a lot of money. It's $100,000 difference. You want to be sure.
Yeah. And honestly, during the World Series, I was late for day 3, and I thought I was kicked out of the tournament because I didn't show up on time. So that's, but I didn't know the poker rules and etiquette. I didn't know you could just get up and walk away whenever you wanted. You would just be blinded off, things of that nature. But so anyways, I ended up moving on with jacks. Gordon thought about it forever because it's a big, obviously it's a huge portion of his stack, like very significant portion of his stack. And he ended up calling it off with ace-7 and ended up spiking the ace to win. So he actually won 3-handed.
What did the other guy have?
What's that?
What did Masood have, the guy who got third?
Like 9-10 or so he had 200 cards to my jacks.
And Phil Gordon, after an all-in and a call, called with ace-7 off?
He called with ace-7 off. It was suspect. especially for today's game. But he called and he spiked the ace and ended up winning. I win that hand, I probably win that event. But, again, I wasn't going to be upset. I made a really good run, real happy. And at this point is the time that I kind of feel like I know what I'm doing in poker. And as I've learned throughout my life, some of the worst things that can happen to you as a gambler or as anything is having a lot of success early on. It can be bad for you if you start sports betting and all of a sudden get hooked. It can be bad if you're a poker player and think that you're so good that you don't need to study. Because that's kind of what happened to me. I got real complacent as people started improving and people, training sites started coming out and people started getting into the game. People were improving very quickly. And I just was sort of stuck up in doing interviews and living my life. I was in love and met this new girl. So I was just, being with her. I wasn't focused on my game at all. And I didn't focus on my game for many years. As if you go back to that Hendon mob, you will see that the amount of cash is very sporadic in the early days. It was, not a whole lot of success. We go through periods of downtime of just not hitting much. Maybe one or two a year that would hit, and it's mostly min cashes. It's nothing significant.
Right. What was this? Was this frustrating to you at some point? Or did you literally just you had a deal with stars, you're the guy, everyone's coming up to you for years. I had Joe Hashem and Daneman on. I think they were the following year. Was they 04 or 05? Maybe it was 05. I think you were 03, right? So maybe money was it?
He was 05.
05.
Kramer was 04.
I'm talking about Daneman, who actually does my taxes still this day, and great guy and just one of those awesome, fun-loving guys. Had half his out. He got half, but Hashem, who hit in the main boom, right? And it's he's like a celebrity in poker, and he's going to Vegas, and you're you're gonna get stopped even to this day in casinos and places, and maybe even just in general, and asked, but was it just did you care really? And we're about whatever, or you just had you're in love. You got a deal, you got some money, and you're living the dream, you're traveling. So was it oh man, this is a little frustrating after 6 months, a year or two of not having a huge result? Because it's kind of like being an Olympian, right? Or you win a gold medal, or and this is very prevalent in Olympic athletes in particular. It's a known thing where it's kind of hard to get back to those highs. You hit the main event, you're the best in the world, you get the money, the prize, all that, and now what, right? Where do you go play in a 1,500 or a side event or an EPT and in cash, or you bust or you bubble, and it's a bit all right, so did you ever struggle with that kind of missing that feeling, or were you just content and the whole time, or did you deal with some downside period, mental kind of struggles?
Well, I'll be honest, that's where I've really been fortunate being who I am and being an ambassador in the game, and that's what has allowed me to do that, I believe, is I never intended on being a professional poker player. My goal was never to chase bracelets or be the best player in the world. Be me and Phil Hellmuth, we have very different aspirations. And right. So, even though you see a big gap on my resume there, I wasn't playing a whole lot. I wasn't chasing tournaments. I wasn't playing, if I got invited to a tournament, they paid my buy-in, yeah, I'd probably go and show up. If it was local, I would go and show up. If it was in Tunica or whatever, I would go play. But I wasn't traveling just to go play tournaments. I was doing a lot of traveling for Canadian Club Liquor back then. And I was doing a lot of traveling for Poker Stars. But a lot of it wasn't these big tournaments. It was a lot of appearances and a lot of just growing the game on a grassroots level. And I actually got more joy out of doing that and meeting people and hanging out and introducing people to poker than I did actually going and playing in these high buy-in tournaments. And it got to a point with Poker Stars, part of my contract, they would be buying me into basically any tournament I wanted. And I was just never taking them up on it. And it got to a point where it was they'd buy me into a high roller. And I never felt like I was good enough to win the high rollers by this time. I mean, I just hadn't studied the game. And I was like, listen, you're wasting your money putting me in high rollers. Put me in the 1,500 events. That's where my people are. That's where the people that I relate to are. And the people that play the 25Ks, they probably don't even care that I'm there that much. They play all the time. So actually, I just told PokerStars, stop putting me in the big buy-in events and put me in the smaller stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And
And I think that's interesting because I can relate with that a bit too. And having children, which you have, and you had, you have three with your, I believe 3 with your current wife. You have 1 from your former marriage. You have 4 kids. It's tough. Like I got a 2-year-old. I stream, I do some content. Like it's sort of like a funny thing because you can't do everything. So it's like, all right, you're like a content guy, but before there was social media, but you're like the live guy. You're doing some stuff. You still have interviews. PokerStars asking for you to do stuff, photo shoots, promos, right? Like you're doing stuff, but you're not like you. So now it's like, are you asking to be doing that? Plus, now you got a family, you got a relate, like all this stuff. So where is like, yeah, it's hard to find 2 hours a day, an hour a day to throw into now like getting on Run It Once or whatever was going on then, right? So it's kind of a catch-22. It's like you kind of want to do it and you realize there's stuff to do, but it's also like, look, I'm working, I'm doing stuff for poker, but this is my role. Like I don't, so I actually struggle sometimes with that too, because like I would like to study more. I feel like I'm a good poker player, but I know there's solvers and deep world stuff. Like guys are going deep, and it's like it's kind of tricky, right? And do you find ever struggling with that? Like, and what do you do? I guess let's just go with that. Do you do any type of work? Do you chat with friends? Like, what is your study regimen and how has it shifted over the last, let's say, 15 years?
Well, my coach is actually calling and texting me right now, which is kind of funny. But, for, I would say 10 years, I probably didn't do a thing. I remember I approached a coach back in the day, and we talked about opportunity cost and what these young guys are doing. These young 21-year-old kids are doing nothing but studying poker, getting better at poker, constantly improving. And am I going to be able to do the same output? Am I going to be able to work on my game like that? Or am I going to have all these other obligations pulling me away from that? Do I want to spend time away from my family to do this when I have such little downtime? And the answer always came back no. I would rather just spend the time with my family, do my other obligations, and not go half-heartedly try to improve. And it wasn't until really, the last couple of years that I really got serious about trying to improve my game and be one of the better players out there. And part of the inspiration for that is seeing all these tournaments pop up and just, not knowing what the future held with PokerStars and, ambassadorships. I mean, I've been with PokerStars for so long, it's like, well, what's the future going to hold? If, and by this time too, I mean, I've always told people, always have a backup plan. I've got so many friends that have been in poker forever and they hate it because that's all they do. I've been fortunate that I can play poker when I want, how I want, for the stakes I want. And no one's, had to back me or anything like that. It's always been my dime. So I've been really fortunate from that. But, what happens if I were to lose my sponsorships and things change? I mean, obviously we had Black Friday. We had so many things develop. So I determined, well, I probably need to get good at poker. I need to learn how to play really good poker. So if something were to happen, I can support my family playing poker, because if not, I'm going to be asking if you want fries with that, because I have no other qualifications whatsoever. I mean, I haven't been in the
You are an accountant. You say, but you haven't done accounting, or you have to get relicensed or do some other stuff, right? That was like 17 years ago or something.
My license is no good after 17 years. No one's going to hire a 40-some-odd-year-old guy to come in an entry-level position.
Especially not the guy that's going to be on a cell phone, playing playing poker. You're not. Let's be honest. You're not sitting all day and doing some accounting now.
I don't even know if I could work for somebody, like work a full-time job. I don't think it's even feasible at this point. So, at that point, I was like, I've got to do something to prepare if something were to happen. So I started trying to get good at poker, and I went out and searched for coaches and went through different coaches and just tried to find people to help me improve. And some of that's been talking with friends. Other that's been actually going and hiring somebody. And, I've been working with I worked with Chip Leader Coaching for a while, and they were amazing. They did a really good thing. I worked with, he's going to kill me for not remember his name, Joe McKeon. I worked with him for a little while, and then
I gotta say he is a tough guy. And you look at live like results, and you look at chip counts and stuff, and WPTs and stuff. That guy is he's always up there. Like when you're deep, it's in the money. He's top 10 stack, and he just has like that live factor. And his personality's can be abrasive at the table. It's like part of his sort of thing. But I've talked to him. He's a guy cares. He loves it. He's a competitor, and he's fighting for every pot. That guy he's a tough cookie, man. I think he's one of the best poker players. And I haven't followed in the last year or so as closely to obviously there's not a lot going on live, but that's a guy that even 2 years ago or so you see live, and he's in every Atlantic City. He's in the Harrah's. He's firing and battling and getting results. So pretty darn good coach there. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a beast. So it's not get anything wrong. He's a huge beast, and he's one of the few people on this planet that can relate to my situation, where you have a target on your back of being a main event champion.
True.
Mine might be a little bit bigger, but at the same time, he's still dealing with the same thing that I'm dealing with. So it was good to have him as a coach for the time, and I worked with him. Was really happy with that. Got a lot of really good knowledge from him, and then moved on and started working with Faraz Chaka, and he's been phenomenal. I'm still working with him, but recently I started working with this guy Rob Kroon, who probably no one on the planet knows who he is, but
I know that name. He played a lot of live. Was he in the main event? What's his name? What's his online name? I do know that name, I think.
Trumping You is his online name on ACR. Yeah. He runs Epic Coaching. What is their actual name? Hold on.
Yeah, I know. He's really good. I mean, that's the kind of thing too, Chris. It's it's crazy because I've looked at a lot of different programs. I work with Raise Your Edge, kind of mainly, but also like BBZ. There's Upswing. There's chip leader coaching. All when you have access, you could call these guys and you can do stuff, and it's you start realizing too, man. Yeah, why not try to get really good at something I'm doing all the time and work in time to study? Because it is listen, I'm playing the events. I'm going to play online. I'm going to be around. I may as well really know what I'm doing, because you have good instinct or whatever, but learn and you it's a lot easier to teach someone that has the experience and understand concepts and starting someone new. So you may be one spot where you're overfolding your big blind. You're not 3-betting enough. You're flatting a spot where you should be jamming, 25, 30 blinds, late position with small pairs. Certain things you're just not doing that are easily fixable, that you do on a repetitive basis can take such a big profit. And I even do work on my game now, and I'm man, there's spots where I'm just blowing. I'm just wow, I am fishy in certain areas, and it's I'm playing high stakes online tournaments, and I may as well do this or shift that and take my advantage. I do want to real quick mention your score. So it's kind of cool, Chris. Your first recorded Hendon Mob is a win, and your most latest is a win. That's pretty strong. First. So you're that's a nice little thing you got going, Chris. I don't know how you do it, man. Everyone's got a style. You got a winning style, and also 400K online score online in that Venom from Wago. That's pretty sick, because that's your second largest score ever. How did that feel? How did that compare, winning that money online to hitting let's say a comparable 300 or 200K score live? What was the feeling? Or just it's new, right? It's fresh, and it's been a while for a massive score. So what was that like?
It was really cool, especially the fact that when you make a deep run, you're getting calls from the company they're trying to find out who you are, if there's anything they can do for you to help you. So it did provide that white glove experience of this is cool. I'm actually on a final table. That means something. And even though, they couldn't say who I was, it was also really cool that just how, they were really easy to work with, and they were really, it was a really cool experience. I've actually, I won the 5K buy-in on there. They had a special 5K tournament, and I won that here recently. And then I think I win the 1K every other couple of weeks or so. So, I've been doing really well. And, again, part of that is good coaching. Part of that is, being a good student, I guess. But, again, it's elite poker coaching. That's who Rob is working for, but, or actually owns. So I've had a good run, and it actually started back, the first bink I hit a 50K bink right at the beginning of quarantine. And so I had a really good quarantine, getting back into the online streets year, and kind of was toward the inspiration again with joining up with ACR was how I was treated and how responsive they were, and just how knowledgeable they are with their player base. And I could not be happier. Things just sort of fell into place, and I'm sitting in a spot now where I just couldn't be happier. If we could get past this virus, we're going to do some really fun things out in the poker world, and I get to do what I'm doing, but do it on a smaller scale to where I don't have to travel as much, and I'm going to be able to bring the family with me. Because they're not, I'm not going to China and to Australia and all these foreign destinations. But I actually did bring my family to Australia on the last trip before the virus hit, which was really cool. And it was that trip that I realized I want to take trips that they can go on, that family destination. So Costa Rica, we're going to have the cage. I'm bringing the family down with me. They're all going to go. We're going to experience it. We're going to pick spots that I want to bring the family to go on these trips with me and be a part of it and let them see the world like I have for the last 17 years.
That's awesome. That's and how old are your kids? That 3 kids with your current marriage? How old are they?
Yeah, my current kids that are under the roof here are 15, 12, and she'll be turning 13 in a couple of weeks, and then a 9-year-old.
Wow.
So girl, boy.
And what do they think about their dad being a professional poker player? And do they realize the magnitude of the Moneymaker name in poker? And do kids, like their friends, when they come over, do they talk about it and they know about it? And like, I'm sure, is that like a fun thing for them, or do they not really understand?
They definitely understand. We definitely downplay it. We don't hype on it. We don't really, everybody knows who I am around here, but we don't really discuss it. It's just, I'm just another guy with another job that's just a little bit unique. Right. To be honest, when I was gone all the time, it was pretty tough on him. I didn't realize how tough it was. Dad's gone again for 2 weeks. Dad's gone again for 3 weeks. I just didn't get to see him. But being home, it's been, I get to see him grow up. I get to help with the math homework. I get to go see all their games. Right. They're more involved in what I'm doing. I'm more involved in what they're doing. My son said he wanted to start a YouTube channel. He's playing Fortnite nonstop. I started playing Fortnite with him. He broke his toe while we were playing basketball. I told him to put a Band-Aid on his broken toe. I'm a great dad. Rub some dirt on it. You'll be fine.
Tough it up. It's nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nothing. You're fine. It's one little broken toe. Yeah. He had a friend over, so he was tough. He didn't cry, but I get to see these things and I get to be part of it. And, it's been, again, it's been eye-opening that I can stay at home and be a part of their life and see them grow up and, work at night when they sleep. I don't sleep very much because I'm playing poker at night a lot of times. I'll do interviews and stuff like that during the day, like when they're at school. And, as I get into this relationship with ACR, we're going to develop a good streaming schedule and a good schedule that will, give me a nice balance between work life and, travel. I mean, I will still be traveling. I mean, part of what I do is go out and meet people and talk with people. And that's, I don't want to go away from that. It's not like I just don't ever want to travel again. Right. But again, I want to pick destinations that my family can go on if they're longer. And if, most of the things that we've been talking about with ACR are going to be, shorter trips. I would, most of the trips that I had been taking recently have been 2-3 weeks long. Playing big, long events out of the country or, going and grinding, scoop, W coop, whatever it is. Right. And it's one thing to go away for a weekend or go away for 5 days. To go away for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that's brutal. Right. And I just can't do that anymore.
And I've experienced a bit with my son's only 2 years old and with my wife, but it's just different, right? Like different, even at baby, this and that. Like it's not. You take them on the road and they're not in their habitat, their environment. Like, oh, it's cool. We'll go to the Bahamas or we'll go to Barcelona, but like you're in a hotel. It's not your normal thing. It's a lot of travel. It disrupts the children's lifestyle. It's not, so that's kind of what I think is cool about streaming. And if you can be in a place or you can go for a period of time and get an Airbnb or somewhere that you're allowed to, or stream, in your case, you'll be at your house, which is like, again, new. This is kind of got to feel refreshing, right? Like, wow, like I can actually work, promote, do what I love and be able to not disrupt my whole life. So, that's something that, again, I'm grateful with Party, doing podcasts, trying to find content when I am in a place that I can't play for real money, that I can do some stuff. And Party was open to taking that opportunity with me and realizing that, it is. It's like you just want to make it ultimately. It's not just you; it's your family, and you got to do what's right. So for everyone, and make that decision. So very cool. Well, let's talk about U.S. and the landscape of poker and what you're feeling right now. And I know you do some sports betting, and you've talked about it. You like sports. Sports is legal at a federal level. Michigan just passed. Actually, PokerStars now, as you mentioned, they asked you if you would be willing to go to Michigan or Pennsylvania. There's real money there. I think MGM and Party's coming soon. And the states are kind of getting ready to go interstate. I think Jersey and Nevada have already teamed up. Delaware, it feels like. Do you think there's another boom? Like, is this happening? Where do you believe in a year, 2, 3, you'll see New York, Illinois? Is this going to be like, man, poker is just legal in the U.S.? Do you think that's happening?
Said for a long time that it's got to be California and New York. Those are the two states, the key states, that if one of those goes, then we have a real chance. You definitely see all the sports betting stuff going live, and I think there's 26 states now that you can sports bet live in. Yeah. So that's the growing trend. And, I remember back after Black Friday, I was like, poker will be back. There's too much money to be made for them to they want the tax revenue. But the problem is there's not as much tax revenue in poker as there is in like sports betting. More people sports bet than ever will play poker. There's always going to be more money in sports betting. There's more money in daily fantasy sports in a lot of times. Right. But the problem that we've had with poker getting legalized in the U.S., in my opinion, is we had a state like New Jersey legalize it. While New Jersey is a great state, it's not a very big state. It's not going to be a huge player pool. So therefore, you're not going to generate enough revenue to really move the needle. And that's one thing poker needs more than anything else, is a player base to drive the games. It's not like sports betting where it's an individual sport. You have to have other people to play against, and you have to have a lot of people to play against to draw the big fields. So only being able to play in individual states or some of these smaller states makes it to where you're not going to see those tax revenue dollars really take effect until you start merging the states and getting some of the bigger states. So I think merging the states is going to help. Then if we can get a New York, California is just not going to happen for a long time. They have too many people wanting, they've got the tribes, they got the racetracks, they got the card rooms. Everybody wants a piece out in California.
I remember they did the tour. I think you were part of that in Negreanu, and you guys went through there. And did it look at the time, was it such a battle? Was it like you knew it was an uphill battle, or did they really believe like they could push it through with the tour and you and Negreanu rubbing elbows? Did they think that was going to happen, or they just were trying and they thought it was a long shot? What was the sort of attitude of that tour?
It was basically pay as much money as we can to try to get legal and try to, get politicians to hear it and do it. And then finally it just sort of came almost like throwing your hands up and say, you know what, let's just drop this for a little while. It's not going to happen. And then they tried to piggyback on DFS. They tried to piggyback on the sports betting. You have the weed that's going across the country now. I mean, there's so many things that are being legalized. I do believe that we will see more and more states start allowing it, and more states should. I mean, it's not like we're killing puppies or killing babies or something. We're playing poker.
It is quite a time to be alive. Crypto, sports cards, Pokemon cards, the Top Shot now. This is something I'm obsessed with sports cards. I don't even get, a lot of my friends and people I know who know that I'm in sports cards are asking me, hey, what do you think about Top Shot? I'm like, man, I'm just so deep into sports cards. I haven't really wrapped my head around it. And the experts I know are not really sure, but it does seem like it's blowing up, like the Crypto Kitty stuff. And, I don't even get it. I think you own a moment or something. Like you can own a moment of sports and then sell it or trade it. Kind of bizarre. But what about sports cards? Are you, did you collect as a kid? And I think you did mention you're affiliated or working with or talking to a business that's doing something with sports cards. So what's your interest level on that?
Yeah, as a kid, I had so many sports cards. And I remember a Don Mattingly rookie card I had was worth $138, I think. Back then was just an amazing amount of money. But I lived through the whole era of there was 50,000 Michael Jordan cards, so they were worth nothing. Yeah. I was getting back into the sports card space, which still know nothing about, mind you. But I was talking with a guy who is starting a company called Guaranteed Breaks, and he's going to buy cards from people breaking them live and offer the services instead of going through eBay and trying to sell them. You can sell them right there on the spot. So I'm excited about the project. But in talking with him, I've come to realize that sports cards are a huge growth industry and something that has evolved. Like honestly, my experience is always back in the day when all the sports cards were, mass produced and there were no value to them. I didn't quite understand why sports cards now are getting value, but now I know there's a scarcity to it and there's rarity and
right.
kind of what's going on and why that you have what you have. And so, yeah, I'm excited about getting into sports cards and figuring out. I don't have any cards yet. I know that the guy I just brokered a deal with went and bought me a couple. I told him who my son likes. My son's a big front runner, so he likes Steph Curry, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Messi. Like he's all about the front runners in the field. Like he doesn't like any of the up and comers. He likes all the MVPs,
all the heavy hitters. Yeah, that's a good.
Yeah, so they got me some cards coming for him on the way, and he's not into it either. But I'm going to try and get him into it because that's something cool that we can do together. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting into it more and learning more about it and participating in some of these breaks and getting some cards and having fun with it. And that's part of my Twitch channel is going to be obviously 90% of my Twitch channel is going to be poker, but I plan on doing some of these breaks and having some fun with it and just trying something new.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. I would love to know which exact it is, and if connect me with them or let them know, because that's something I'm going to do. I actually have, like, speaking of breaks, let me just like kind of this stuff, right? Like I'll give you an example. I got some of this. I got this box. I got a bunch of these for $400. This is like this was in September or something. I got these Panini Mosaic 2019-2020 box of cards, right? This is like $1,500 now, or $1,300 a box. It was $400 a few months ago, and it's kind of like wine. And I'm looking at like if you had like an 86 box of Fleer that you got for whatever, it's worth like, I saw there was 4 of them that went for $4.5 million, 6 boxes of 86 Fleer, like a box like this, a set. It's just crazy. And it's like, it's kind of like wine. It's fun. And it's got the gambling aspect of it. And like you're to the point, you could break this. If you break it, it's worth less, and it's gambling because it's going to go down, right? Like the value goes down once you open up like a car, drive off a lot, whatever. But there is that fun. It's like you get some buddies, you say, all right, let's take the NFL, or let's just, since this is NBA, right? We'll go, Chris, with 4 friends, we'll draft. Like I get 8 teams, you get 8 teams, and whatever card comes out. So now you might get Golden State as your team, but there might be no Curry. So it's like you're gambling on the teams you get, then you're gambling if you actually get the card. Is it a 9? Is it an 8? Is it a 10? Is it perfectly centered? It's just, and people love it. And so now, like, to the point of the Super Bowl, you could almost not even bet on the game. You could say, I want to buy a Mahomes card, or I want to buy a Brady card. And depending on that game, the market is so liquid right now, and there's so much going on. The card will move significantly, one of those cards on the result, or if he's MVP or not, right? So it's like, it's just because, and it makes sense because of the technology, like in the timing. Like now you can look up card. You remember Beckett? Did you ever have those magazines where you like flip through the magazine?
Well, I always said that's where I found out how much my Mattingly was worth. The books.
Yeah, exactly. So like those books, and now though you type it in, and there's cool websites, and you can scan stuff, and there's data, and you can see when the last one sold, or watch it in the eBay or auction and tie it in. It's just like, it just makes a lot of sense. So I don't know. I'm a bit obsessed with it. It's become one of my really big passions, and it's always nice. Sort of like poker. Like, listen, video games are cool, but can't make money in video games. Like sports, it's like a thing like poker, sports cards. You can actually have a hobby that's passionate, that's fun, that you can work at, maneuver and actually make a bit of money potentially. So anyway, that's my rant. Let's talk on that and connect, because the breaking is getting very popular. People really do love cracking wax, and also to that point about your kids, they're at an age now where they're into sports and they're collecting, right? So it's kind of fun. It's like a thing you can sort of do together, talk about it, teach money, teach like, oh, look, there's grading, or this guy went to this school, and there's like stats and numbers and all these things, and it just kind of encompasses everything in under one thing that I think is fun for people.
He was the deciding factor in why I got into it. I wouldn't, if I didn't have a son to get into it with, I wouldn't get into the sports trading stuff. I mean, the sports cards. I mean, I wasn't that interested in it in the beginning, but now that I've gotten into it and seen, what's going on, it's like, wow, this is a whole, crypto world that I can get into and play with. And, I got into crypto back 7 or 8 years ago, and this is a new world.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. Like I said, what a time to be alive. Crypto cards, and Hello Kitty and Top Shot, whatever else is going on, and AMC and GME and whatever, man. It's a Dogecoin. Like, it's crazy, right? You got guys tweeting out. Elon Musk sends a tweet out and suits it into hysteria. You got people storming the Capitol. There's COVID. Like, it really is. Like, they talk about the Matrix, man. What is going on? Where are we?
We've broken the Matrix, that's for sure. I mean, hey, you buy AMC stock, GameStop stock, yeah. There's all kinds. Buy silver. Who knows where it's going to be tomorrow? What's going to be the new thing? It's a fluid, interesting situation, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's for the people that like to gamble a bit or have some risk and luck and all that. Like, there's a lot of options for you to get your different levels, right? Crypto can go up 20-30% a night or down, go to sleep. Stock market, forget, that's boring. They close during some hours, but crypto, no, that'll get you full sweat anytime.
I can't tell you how many times during this bull run I've woken up looking at live coin watch just to see where the crypto's at. I mean, that's been.
And then during the bull runs, I'm sorry, the bear runs, like when stuff's bad, it could be a week or two, you don't look at it. You're just like, I don't even want to see it. And when it's going well, you just refresh, alert set for,
I don't think I looked at it the entire year of 2019. I don't even think I ever opened it up. Like, I just like, whatever. It's out there somewhere.
Right. Dead, or it's down to like 3K Bitcoin. It kind of looked like, oh man, all those guys. It's just so funny that people are so like, the brave, like they talk shit. Guys are like talking smack when it's whatever, and then the guys that have it are so talking and chirping online when it's good. And it's an interesting thing. I do think it's past the critical mass, right? I think at this point, banks, people, major leaders, influencers are behind it. People kind of get it. You can buy it on PayPal. Like, people are using it online. It just seems like it's sort of in the next realm of reality, whereas before it was sort of like, when it's
definitely coming to the acceptance role. It went from, gray area, people don't know, it's all used for money laundering and everything else, to actually there's a use function now and people see it as a store of value. And
yeah,
I mean, it's going to be insane what, I think, I'm sort of bullish. I think we're going to see huge strides over the next couple of years. Maybe, and that might not even be Bitcoin. It could be, probably not going to be Dogecoin, Doge, or whatever.
Or whatever. Something may just take off fully. I agree with you completely. All right, so we're covering a lot. There's a lot of questions in here. I think we should probably, because Chris, again, you are my kind of technically first ever guest. This was Letting It Flow. This is on my main YouTube channel, and we had a nice discussion back in the day, 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago. So that was new time and new place. And again, guys, give him a follow on Twitch. He's gonna be streaming. It's coming up here. That's Chris Moneymaker Poker on Twitch. We also have his Twitter, and I think you don't do a ton of Instagram. You're more, you like Twitter. What's the main ways people can get a hold of you? Twitch and Twitter.
Twitter is really the best way if you want to reach out to me and get in touch with me. Twitter is going to be the best way. That's the one I check on a more consistent basis. Again, Instagram, I literally posted my first Instagram in over a year, probably yesterday. I need to get more into that platform, but I just don't do it. So, but it's really going to be Twitter.
At some point you got to make a cut. If you want to study, you want to be the ambassador, you want to be a family man, some social media's got to suffer somewhere. There's only so much time. You say you already don't sleep a lot. This question is, let's dive into it. Favorite hand in the game. We see someone here live in the chat asking, maybe it's the same person. This guy needs to have the answer, Chris. He's posting on Twitter. He's in the chat live. He needs to know, what is your favorite hand, Fabio Turbina, in poker besides aces? What's like your fun hand? 5-4 maybe?
Probably 4-5. I mean, that's the hand that I won the World Series with. I think it's, as you can agree that as you play poker more and more, you don't really have a favorite hand. You're playing your range based on your stack and your opponents and things of that nature. So honestly, I don't have a favorite hand anymore, but I like playing off the button because I get to play, the majority of hands. So a better position is I'd rather just have the button than a hand specifically, because I can play pretty much my entire range from the button. But if I had to actually pick a specific hand, it would be the 5-4.
Fair enough. That makes sense. Doesn't even have to be suited. I think you won it with the 5-4.
Doesn't have to be suited. No.
Yeah, just a good hand. Did you really enjoy your role as a PokerStars Pro ambassador? Asked Marcelo.
It's one thing. Some people sign sponsorship deals and they ask you to do things that maybe you're not comfortable with, or it's not in your wheelhouse. But it for whatever reason, it just comes natural to me. Like I don't have to act. This is just who I am. I'm not putting on a show. This is just who I am on a daily basis. So it's actually really easy to be an ambassador. And I've enjoyed my role at Poker Stars for 17 years, and I'm looking forward to carrying forward that role with America's Card Room. And again, it's a really easy thing for me to do. And obviously it's a really easy thing for you to do. It just comes naturally to some people. And, but you get someone, not to throw him under the bus, but like Joe McKeon, like I would get something and he'd be like, dude, how do you get that? I'm like, I'm nice to people. He's like, oh yeah, I can't do that.
And to be fair, like that's the thing. I think that's something that's been adopted now. Like some of the crushers, right, of the game. You got like the Alex Foxons and Chance, right, and Phil Galfons, and whatever. You could name 100 players or world-class Fedor Holtz and whatever, right? Doesn't matter. The guys that and Justin Bonomo's and just winning everything, Dan Coleman's, and some of those guys, they're built for that. They want to just play. They're just consummate professionals. They're in the solver world. They're grinding. They're living immersed there. And then you got guys that are a mix, a hybrid, and then you got some guys that are just sort of the streamers that are just promoting the game, having fun, and that's what they're doing, right? And it's like, and then you kind of get the hybrids, and it's not for everyone. You have to actually, like, the people that, you could probably put on a really short list. The people that are passionate about poker, that love the game, love the people, and would rather, they're putting their first goal is for promotion of poker, and they're doing the content side. There's a short list, I think, of guys that do it well and do it because they love it. And I think that's hard to find. And again, like you looked at the Stars model from 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and you can see how the list has shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And then some of them have gone signed at other places, like yourself, myself, Jamie Staples, Kevin Martin, Matt Staples, Pav, these kind of guys that are active in doing it. But a lot of the guys that were getting deals, the old model was, oh, this guy won a high roller, or this guy's like a EPT champion, this guy's this, and they just slap him a deal. And, not that it's the player's fault, but they wanted to pay them for that sort of thing. But I think nowadays it's like people don't care. There's $10, $20 streamers that have thousands of people watching them play because they love the game, they're passionate. And that's what sites want. They want people that are going to promote them well. They're going to share and let people know what's going on in the industry within their site. And that's what you see. It's moved completely now. Like 95% is that road, instead of like guys that are just like great poker players. Because again, not right or wrong, and this is a bit of a rant and just sort of a rumble about it, but like guys, I think like Ben CB and Fedor Holtz and some guys that maybe initially were like, I remember when Kevin Martin got signed by Poker Stars, he actually came to party, now he's with GG. People are outraged. Like I remember seeing threads and chats like, man, Kevin Martin, plays $22 tournaments. This guy doesn't know how to play poker. But Kevin is like, he's a guy that's he loves poker. People love him. He's fun. He's entertaining. He's actually a hell of a poker player now and put a lot of work in his game. But that was sort of like, I thought, a turning point when they signed Kevin, and people like kind of were fighting or saying this, and then they sort of realized it. And there's kind of people that are now like, I think some of the crushers of the game, they really get it. They're like, oh wow, like what? That's great. This guy's streaming. This is what's keeping the game alive. Oh, this YouTube channel. This is why people are coming. I gotta say one more thing before I know it's your podcast. We're here to talk about you, but I had an interesting experience with Doug Polk, where he started on YouTube, and I started doing videos in 2017 at the World Series. Okay, like at the World Series, I'll never forget. I didn't really have a YouTube channel. Sorry, my son's screaming there in the background. He poked his head around here, and yeah, he's crying. But someone came up to me, and I was vlogging, and it was 2017. I'd streamed for about a year or so, right? And a guy comes up to me, he's like, hey man, like it's so cool. He's like, and I thought he would know who I was. No idea. Didn't care, whatever. And he asked me, he's like, hey, do you know Doug Polk? And I'm like, yeah, I know Doug, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, that's why I'm here. He's like, I watch his, this was when he was doing a lot of poker videos and his hand reviews and whatever. This guy is from wherever, California or something, came to the World Series and came because of a YouTube video Doug Polk did. And again, he's polarizing. You love him, you hate him. Him and Daniel, it was obvious they were going to have a bromance, and they played this thing, and it was great for poker. But Doug brings a lot of people into poker, like he does. Like people like his content, they learn from it, they see it, and that is something that's good for the game. And that was when I heard that that was when I was kind of like, oh, wow, like that's powerful. People are showing up to Vegas. People are showing up to live events because of content. And I started seeing that and more of that. And, Johnny Vibes and, what's his name? And Andrew Nemi and Brad Owen, and these guys that are YouTube crushers. Then there's the Twitch crushers. Then there's Instagram people doing content and whatever. This is what poker needs, or else it's dead. You got to have new people coming, or else it's just, there's got to be some people come in, they do the study programs, they learn, they pay their dues, they take their licks, they come through the system. And I saw a stat at the World Series. I think I'm setting a record. Sorry, it's my Twitch streamer, me, Chris. I can't help it. I just talk. But the 21-year-olds, I saw a statistic like 2 or 3 years ago that really worried me, because like they showed the demographic of 21-year-olds playing the World Series, or 21, 22, 23. It was super low. Like, because kids that are in college that aren't in the U.S. that aren't playing and whatever, like it was like drying up. Like, and if people leave, people have kids, people move on to other projects, people
find other passions.
They make the ones that make money. Even you see some of the biggest crushers who kind of ride off in the sunset and retire. Then you got guys that are stuck in makeup or just it doesn't work. At some point, you got to have that ecosystem where people are getting infatuated with the game, responsibly, of course, hopefully. But they come up, you need that system, or else, at some point the game does dry up. Although look at WPT Hard Rock, people are in masks, plexiglass, third largest WPT ever, like 1,600 entries. People are chomping at the bit. Online, massive 8 million guarantee, gets 9.4. Party Poker WPTs online. These series, there's just a lot happening. It's exciting. Poker, you can feel there's energy on it, and people are ready to learn and grow and play, and it's great. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, poker's definitely not going anywhere. It's a great industry to be in, and everybody's itching to get back out and play again. Everybody wants to go out and play with everybody else, and we'll get there eventually, but it's just going to take some time. But yeah, back to your point on the ambassador role, I mean, it's showing up and talking to people and being present and showing people a good time. I mean, I know as my role as an ambassador, I've done my job. When I bust the person, and 2, they shake my hand after I bust them, and they said that it was an honor and a great time to play with me, and I had a blast. If I can get that, and I get that all the time, then I know I've done my job. And that's really what being a poker ambassador is giving people a good outlet, a good opportunity to have fun, because this is what poker's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a break from your everyday grind. It's supposed to be a vacation, if you will, and something you enjoy.
Yeah, it's why it's a great mix, because there is like the grinders, people that love it and do it full time, and then there's guys that are, it's a hobby. They come in, they come out, probably lose a tiny bit, but it's entertainment, it's fun. There's an allure, there's a big prize they could win, they could hit the Moneymaker dream. People still, look at that. I know you finally hit the Party for $1 million at Aria, and got 9th. It doesn't win the first. I think Tom Marchese won, who actually one of the great players who has a Vegas legacy sports cards legacy in Vegas. You know that? You know how deep Tom is into sports cards? He owns his own store there. Did you know that?
No idea.
Big, sports card fan. Just so you know, that's a guy too to talk with about it. But that's the thing. Like, yes, so some of the best players are going to win. It's a skill game. But guys that go to Vegas and they hop in a 5 or a 10K buy-in or 2K WSOP, they know they could win, and it's possible. And that is fun. Let's continue on some questions here before. I know, Chris, we've already been going for almost 2 hours, so appreciate the time. If you got to leave, you can kick. It's going to be hard to quit you, so you're going to have to say, let's do a few more. And then segue. I know you got kids, you got stuff to do, you got Twitch streams to set up, so I know you're busy.
We can hit a few questions, and then we'll cut it. But we'll hit a few of them, see what's going on, see what people want to know.
We're in the Matrix, Chris. Let's let the Matrix do its thing. So we got a question here from Hey, it's Ray. Champ, how many more times, if any, do you think you would have played the main event if you hadn't cashed the year you won? Let's say you brick or you min cash. Were you coming back, or is that it? Or is it late or not?
It's obviously going to depend on my financial situation at the time. If I'm doing well, I mean, I'm definitely going to be playing because I love poker, and I would, it would be like a bucket list thing to go play every year. It's, one of the few events that you strive to play. Realistically, I don't know. It depends on my financial situation.
Yeah. And I got to ask about the Moneymaker effect. That's an actual term in language based on you. How does that feel? Is that pretty cool? Like, that's a real thing.
Yeah. Honestly, I have an effect that's going to be named after me long after I'm gone. My kids will get to see it. So obviously it's one of the coolest things ever. And, you don't really think about it obviously on a day-to-day basis, but when I'm gone, in the history books. Your name will be there, which is cool. I mean, that to me, that's it's a really cool thing.
For sure. And people relate to, they say, you know, there's just things about you're an average Joe, like play on that, which obviously you're, you know, whatever. That's just kind of like you're a guy that people can relate to, anyone that's like possible to win for, let's just say like that. You sign autographs, take selfies with fans, take pictures. What is it about your personality that makes you so down to earth and not let you get a big head?
Honestly, I can't answer that. I don't know. It's just who I am. Every time that I think I'm going to get a big head, my wife or my kids or my friends will just bat me back down to reality really quickly. Like my wife actually put on the calendar a month ago, Chris, like when I was doing the announcement for ACR, she wrote Chris and in parentheses BH. And I didn't really make a big deal of it. I didn't know what it was, but I just walked by. And then maybe last week, I go, "Hey, babe, what's Chris BH mean?" And she goes, "Well, that's the day you're announcing ACR, right?" I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Chris Big Head. You're going to have a big head that day." I'm like, "Really?" I mean, so yeah, she knows when, you know, I might, you know, get a little bit, and she makes sure she pops it right away.
Keeps you
no big head.
Under control. And tell me about your accounting background. How do you think that worked in your favor, or did it at all? And just like in terms of numbers and math and some of that, obviously poker, the math isn't like rocket science, but still there's some percentages and concepts to understand. Was that beneficial for you in your sort of poker understanding, or what do you think? How did that translate from what you do into the poker world?
You know, it doesn't really translate that much. Accounting was definitely just more theory and more code, or, you know, text code than, you know, use a calculator for all the math stuff, or you use a computer. I mean, all right, my wife, I was sitting there texting my wife, I got 15 minutes to wrap it up. I gotta go pick the kids up.
Okay.
My son is home from school. We hope he doesn't have COVID. He got tested yesterday and he came back negative, but she's not feeling well. He's not feeling well. And so I got to go pick up the others from school. We wouldn't be sending them, but they came back all negative. So hopefully we don't have it, but whatever. Yeah. So, yeah, but accounting didn't really help me a whole lot in poker.
And what do you think about though poker? What have you now that you've played, you say you've been doing it for a long time, you've been in the game. What do you believe poker? What attributes do you think you can apply to the real world the most?
More than anything else, it's just about patience and, you know, not getting too emotional and not, you know, reacting to situations. I mean, I remember back earlier when I was younger, you know, I would blow up and go on tilt, and, you know, like crypto is a good example. You know, I would probably, back my younger self would, you know, every time crypto dumped 10%, I would probably freak out and sell everything. But you just learn just to have patience and, you know, not react in the moment. Anytime, you know, like with poker, if you take a bad beat, like people always ask, how do you get over tilt, or how do you not tilt? You got to step away from the table. You got to calm yourself, and you got to just regroup and go back. Like you're a quarterback or something, you have to have a short memory.
Right.
And that applies to everything in life. I mean, you know, you can't react with emotion. You have to be practical and realize, why are you in the poker tournament, or why are you in crypto, or why are you doing what you're doing? You're in it for the long term. You're in it because you feel like you can make better decisions than other people, and you can control your emotions. I mean, a lot of times poker, as in life, it's about controlling your emotions and controlling how those emotions affect your decisions. And, you know, you play all the time with people that can't control their emotions. They could be the best player in the world, but once they go on tilt, I mean, I think Helmuth is actually a, you know, pretty good example of this. He, you know, could be one of the best players in the world, but he has a tilt button that once you hit it, I mean, the guy just goes spew crazy. I mean, you see it on when he plays cash games and things like that. So it's really about controlling that emotion and controlling that tilt and making a good decision.
Look at this. We got Legend in the chat. Poker Staples. I don't know if you can see that pop up. He said, "What up, Legend? See money. All the best to you in your new role." So there's Jamie, one of the guys I mentioned.
What's up, Jamie? Yeah, thanks, man.
That's definitely one of those guys on the short list that you can say loves the game and does more than basically anyone in terms of content and outward focus on what it is, and just kind of nice to see him crushing. And, you know, we're co-managing Party Poker Team Online, and it's a wild time. It's a wild time to be in the industry. And welcome, Jamie. Thank you for stopping in and saying hello. And We were all teammates.
Jamie for me was, you talk about Kevin being the turning point for you. Jamie was kind of the turning point for me because Jamie, I remember when he first came on, he was complete shit poker player. Like he was terrible. Love you, Jamie, but you would watch his stream and be like, what the hell? This guy's lost. And, he came on to Poker Stars and represented the team, and you could just see him getting better. But more than his poker ability, it was his ability to talk to people, entertain and interact with people in this setting. And, I've streamed very little compared to him. And I see how hard it is. Like, when I engage with people better in person, like, it's a skill set to be able to stream and do Twitch and do what these people do. And he was one of the first ones that I saw really be able to bridge that gap and really connect with the audience really well, and make you feel like you're a part of what he's doing. And that's what it was kind of an eye opener for me. It's like, this kid gets it. He may not be the best poker player in the world, but he definitely has the personality and the likability factor that is good for poker.
Yeah, well, I would say what I meant was it wasn't for me personally, like, because honestly, the original guy, well, what Kevin was in there, one of the originals, it was basically Jay Carver, right? Somerville, the original OG Twitch guy. And then you got kind of was Kevin and Jamie for me at those three.
See, the problem with Jay Carver is he was good at poker. I mean, Jason Carver's always been good at poker. Or Jason Somerville's always been good at poker. He's been good at everything he does.
Right. He's also playing.
I mean, he's like a beast. He's not a normal human. So.
Right. We're talking about the humans only for sure. I agree with you, but I'm saying like Kevin, I was saying Kevin Jamie was with Stars for a while before. Then when Kevin got signed officially, that's when people, I think the industry kind of like lashed out, was like, this is crazy. Like, how are you signing this guy and cutting this one or not, whatever. Right. Like that was, I think, where people at the moment weren't understanding the power of content and what it was really about and what was happening. And that was sort of like where the paradigm shifted and people like started to realize, oh, like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, wow, that's stupid. I shouldn't be making fun of this guy or talking like he's not a good player. He's the one providing a platform for me to have games, right? So like that's, I think people, the top crushers really like their attitude is shifted now where they're kind of like, all right, this is great that guys are streaming, and
they definitely see the value. Yes.
And some of them too stream now themselves, and they'll throw streams together, Ben CB, or there's some other, there's a lot of great players that do some streaming as well, but it does take away from, your focus, and it probably is like playing 3 to 4 tables alone. So just look at the Twitch chat, follow it, and whatever. All right, let's take a couple more, Chris. I know you got to get running here, and then we got a giveaway to do for the $111 ticket. Tell us something interesting about your work with Poker Stars. Was there ever like, Isha, you said you had a great relationship with, that you mentioned that was something super interesting. You had a contract for about $5K a month, and then they realized like you were providing so much value. They actually reached out and told you, and Isha was like, hey, let's terminate it and get you something right. Any other kind of anecdotes or stories or memories of something crazy along the way?
I mean, Black Friday, obviously when it happened, Eastside called me. It's like, hey, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. Don't post anything. Don't say anything. Just hang out. We'll fill you in and let you, we're not going to be cutting you or, reducing your salary, anything like that. Everything's going to be fine. Just sit there and wait and, enjoy the ride, essentially figure out, what we're going to do. So, I mean, they were always real responsive with, market changes and, keeping me up to date and let me know what was going on. And yeah, but then you would have these random things like, people that know Poker Stars kind of know Melanie. She made me go bungee jumping, which was the worst thing that ever happened in my life.
Really? That sounds terrifying. I wouldn't do that for anything. I just, it's not me.
I said the same thing and they begged me to do it. And I said, all right, I'll do it. And yeah, it was brutal. I won't do that again, Phil.
Like you were legit terrified. And like when you actually did it and like, did it hurt a little bit or like kind of snap you a bit, or you were just kind of
I'll still never do it again. Like I couldn't even walk out on the bridge. I had to crawl almost to get across the bridge just to get out there to do it. It was the most terrifying thing I've ever done in my life. And it's not something once you do it, you can do it again because it's fine. No, it was terrifying. It was horrible.
I had a bet to jump off the stratosphere. So that's the only thing I could even relate to kind of. And it's way different because it's like just like a straight down drop, but like legitimately I couldn't jump. Like, I mean, they're not pushing you. So you have to like, you're looking out in the Vegas skyline. I did it at night. And it was just like, I'm terrified of heights. Like I had some drinks in me, would never be able to do that again. Like same thing. It doesn't mean like, oh, I did it, I'm good. Like, no, I don't want to do that again. And I'm not cool with it. So Yes, I can relate, but that's I wouldn't bungee, man. That's even more intense. So congrats, I guess. And are you happy you even did it, or are you so upset like you're actually not even happy you did it? Like
No, I'm happy I did it. It's a thing that you knock off your bucket list. You did it. You never have to do it again, but you're happy you did it.
Okay.
But honestly, what they did, it was in Russia when I did it. They drop you down, and the drop sucked. Don't get me wrong, but it was really they hauled you back up slowly, and that was the worst part, is going back up, seeing what you just dropped down, and being carried back up the thing. That was really bad.
I don't know all the statistics and stuff in countries, and certain aviation, like Russia's actually got one of the worst records in aviation, just in flying in general. Like not, it's still crazy odds, but yeah, bungee jumping is, it's pretty dangerous. I mean, it really is. Like, they test with rocks or whatever and weight, and they throw shit off, but like it's
I'm a big rock too. So
yeah, I mean, listen, it's definitely at some point we gamble enough, but yeah, maybe I think that I'm good with that. All right, let's take one more and then let's do this giveaway. Chris has got to pick up the kids. Actually, two more. One from here, and I got one last question. I'll let you go. Did you wager any money on D-Neg's Polk?
Yep, I ended up putting 2,000 on Polk, and then I realized how long the match was going to take, and I bet 2,000 on Negreanu to balance it off because I didn't want to sweat it anymore. I didn't realize when I made the bet it was going to last months, and I did not want to pay attention to it for more than 1 month. So I ended up having zero action. I basically bought myself out after the first 3 sessions, and I was happy not to have any. I mean, if I would have had a side, it would have been Doug's side. But at the end of the day, I just didn't want to have action that was going to last that long. I had enough presidential election action after the election had occurred that I didn't need any more action.
For sure. And my last question is, you did a book, and it was a children's book about math, I believe. And correct me if I'm wrong. I forget the name of that book. I had a note about it.
I don't know where that comes from. I never did a children's math book. That's something that's completely false. I've never done a children's book. I've never written it's something on
It's crazy because I found the note. In 2005, it says that you authored a children's book titled Bet Big to Win Big, a story which sought to teach basic mathematics and life principles. The release of the book came with controversy as a national, there's like a whole thing.
Never happened.
Yeah, I encourage reckless. Okay, so this is just like a random side tip that is just the internet. Fake news gets a tick today. But
someone borrowed that on my Wikipedia page or something, and then somehow I don't know how that stuff sticks, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of scary that you can write that stuff out there, and it kind of becomes like, I've actually been asked about that by 3 or 4 different people, and I'm like, I never wrote a children's book. I never wrote that book. I have no idea what that book is. I don't even know if that book exists. But no, I didn't write it.
Fair enough. And what about HUDs? Do you use HUDs when you play online? Do you ever use the HUDs up displays or no?
I never used to use HUDs. I've started using HUDs because the way my coach teaches, he teaches with HUDs. I've started using it now. But I've always been a non-HUD guy. I've been a big HUD non-believer. But with the way poker online goes, when all these different abilities different things that you can use. I mean, HUDs are something that I think probably the site should offer, and you can choose to use it if you want. I'd like to see in-house HUDs that everybody can use that levels the playing field.
Basic stuff like, VP, pre-flop or whatever, just like something simple, not the.
Give that to every player on the site. Let them see it. Let them, just even the playing field.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. All right. 2 quick one-worders. Celebrity crush. Do you have one?
I've got a lot of them.
All right, maybe
Jennifer Gardner probably is. I'm a big Jennifer Gardner fan. She kind of reminds me of my wife, and
very cool. All right, well, that one's fine. And favorite food, and then we're gonna go to the giveaway.
Favorite, dude, come on now. I like all food.
Get that 6-pack out there.
Yeah. I'm not a partial food eater. If I had to say anything, it's probably gonna be pizza, but I'll eat damn near anything.
Fair enough. All right, Chris, man, absolute pleasure. We do have a $111 ticket courtesy here. We're going to give it away right now. I'm going to give a one-shot $111 ticket. You never know. Chris has turned 86 into 2.5, so 111. Who knows what you could do out there? Good luck for the giveaway, guys. I did copy the thing. I put it in. I'm going to confirm it. And, Chris, you're going to tell me when to choose. So you let me load this up, man. Good game.
All right, so I'm gonna make someone's day or ruin it. All right, sounds good.
Happy, and about 100 people or so are going to be not, they're not going to be pissed. They're just, you're going to make one very happy. We're going to download it. A lot of tweets, Chris. A lot of people wanted to hear from you. I don't think we answered a lot. Chris is tagged on it. If he wants to go back later, take a look at Twitter. Maybe.
Yeah, I am tagged on stuff, and I saw some stuff. I'll go back and answer some of the ones. I mean, definitely a lot of questions out there. So,
all right, let's choose a winner, Chris, on your command.
Spin it.
Run it, choose it. I am sure it's loading. It's loading. 111 ticket. It's finished. This guy, I already know. This is a name, Nemesis. I think he's won numerous things before. Some guys can really do it, man. He asked a lot of questions. He's involved. Look at this. He's binked. He's a bink giveaway guy. Congrats to our friend here. And Chris, man, I'll let you run, get the kids and get on with life. And that's number 118 in the books. The man, the myth, the legend, the Moneymaker effect was here. Did it officially. One of my inspirations for the podcast, as we mentioned before. Chris, always a pleasure. Thank you for your time. Congrats on the new signing, the ACR, and I'll be seeing you hopefully live, if not on the Twitch streets, very soon.
Jeff, it's been a pleasure spending these 2 hours with you. It has been a very long time. It's great to see your face. Hope to see you soon. Thanks for everything. Talk to you soon. Thanks for the kind words, and thanks for the good interview.
Cheers, man. That's Chris Moneymaker, guys. We got 2 big pods next week. Stay tuned. Going live on Twitch as well. We're going to be going crazy. We might even move the pod to Twitch and then upload them here. I'm not really sure. I got to message this ticket here, and I got to get the username from Escalana, who won it. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to ride off. Enjoy your weekend, guys. Super Bowl. Good luck. I don't think we'll be streaming anything before that. I don't believe. And then we're going to be having a big week next week. Schedule's up. And again, there is a post here for our pinned tweet. I will remind you, giving away, I'll repin it actually, since we had some peeps. We had Ludwig on recently, really entertaining podcast. And also, let me put this back up top. And this is $100 in BTC giving away right here, you guys. My pinned tweet if you want to get in there. BTC's hot, crypto's hot, sports cards are hot. I appreciate you. Separation anxiety. We'll see you very soon. And shout out to Brain Fuel. Testing it, man. This thing is super strong, and we tried one yesterday. Didn't realize how intense it is, but it's very tasty. I'm sampling it, trying it out. We'll see you very soon, guys. Appreciate you, and cheers.